not ideal. I should have got a water.
I got like 8 of them in here.
Give me one.
Stockpile. Yeah, you need one?
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Special episode for our pal Daryl Ward today. You like that?
Great callback.
Yeah, that's what we do around here. I'm Dave Loughran. You're watching the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Follow me on Twitter at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. And while you're there, say hello to Josh Engleman. It has been a long time. The last time we've done an NBA Deeper Dive or Live Before Lock was the postseason, like showdown slates of last year. It's been a minute, man. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's the final game of the finals. And we were, I don't know, annihilated for sure. I mean, they went off the rails pretty quickly for those last 3 games.
Oh, we did get pretty tuned up for the live watch parties.
Yeah, I think it was the second to last game where we really got
it was the last one we were somewhat
drunk.
In check. The first one was Hennessy, and you crushed like half a bottle of Hennessy.
That was rough. It was
the
rough.
Next morning that night was hilarious. We had a great time.
It was a good time.
Ended up being what's that?
No regrets.
No, we'll have to do it again this year. For sure.
Nothing else to do. Hopefully baseball's canceled.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
It depends. It depends if we get to keep our paychecks.
I know. I can't.
I want to cover just enough baseball to continue to get paid.
Right. Exactly. Maybe they'll do another like 80 game season and then we'll all be
I would be more than okay with like a June start, and like April, May is just living on easy street.
David says these guys have slept together at least once. All right. I mean, we're just diving into it today.
David, it's really hard to sleep with someone you've literally never met.
Never met him. If we did, we wouldn't tell you, right?
Yeah.
No. Anyway.
But you're right. We would have slept together.
T.O. Deck let's start it off with this and we'll jump into these games. We got 11 of them. Hit that thumbs up too if you haven't done so yet. Let's get it. I don't know, Josh, we got the likes king around here today. We could pop this up over 200, I think, in the next few minutes. We're 500 watching right now because we started a little bit early, but I think we crushed 500 likes tonight.
I mean, I think it's pretty incredible that you just on the stream admitted that I am the likes king.
Yeah, because, I mean, when it comes to hosting, you got to have something, and you got that. You're good at it.
Okay. What do you have?
Just incredible hosting skills.
That's fine.
You know what else we have? $50 super chat from T.O. Deck.
It's good to see.
Wasn't going to play tonight, but saw Loughran and Josh doing this. I had to run it with the OGs that started me on Awesemo. Oh, I love saying that. Thank you for the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, that's what I called Josh and told him after that night we got together. Anyway, we got 11 games, and we'll dive right into it here. I ask Adam this all the time just to kick it off. Do you have any specific approach today just from a stars and scrubs standpoint, or how much of this is just dependent on the immense amount of news that is yet to break?
It's incredibly dependent on the immense amount of news. We don't have a ton of value on the slate at this moment yet, and we could get a ton of it in the next hour and a half, whether like all of the Lakers end up being out, if some of these Portland guys end up being out. We've got Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. both questionable in Houston. We could open up a ton of value by the time we get to the end of it, at which point this is going to look a lot more stars and scrubsy. But for now, we don't have that sea of sub 4K guys that we're just easily jamming in with like super high optimal rates. It's honestly a very difficult slate depending on how all of this news breaks.
Yeah, it's real difficult. And you know what's odd about this too is you only have one 7 o'clock game on an 11 gamer.
It's just a sea of 8 o'clock games.
Right. It's crazy. I was actually putting the odds into one of these and I was like, why are these games all out of order when I went over to a sports book to grab them? And I realized that they're all, like you said, 8 o'clock. So we'll do what we can. Is there any legitimacy to saying, all right, well, Detroit, Orlando might just be a game that I hold off on, or can we look towards like a Cade who has the ceiling and also has the floor? And by floor, I mean a low floor. And then on the Orlando side, all of these guys are priced at a point now where some of them are fine. I think you could get a handful of Orlando guys sprinkled in there, but I don't know if you have any priorities from this game.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Kind of more so on the Orlando side than on the Detroit side.
Sir Franz.
So on the Detroit side, it's more of a FanDuel priority. Sadiq Bey is pulling about 20% ownership right now. I don't necessarily love him at 20, but to me, he's very clearly the best option in this game just because of his price tag. He's 5,600 now. But, Detroit's at full strength or close to full strength. It's basically just Kelly Olynyk not there. Jeremy Grant's been out for so long that this is just sort of the team that you get, and all the prices are sort of stabilized. But Bey is coming in a little bit lower than you would expect, and that's why the ownership is there. If you want to go to Cade, I think that's all reasonable, but we're talking about a sea of guys that are just like 3 to 4% optimal type plays. There's nothing really exciting here for Detroit, unless Cade Cunningham's going to go out and score 69 fantasy points again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the one thing with Cunningham is you're not paying a super premium on the guy. So he's there and he has the ceiling. It's not a bad matchup whatsoever, but outside of him, it's ugly. And even with Cade, like, have you crunched preliminary lineups yet? Or are you ready?
Yeah. I've got everything here.
So how much Cade do you have? Are you like right around the field on him, I would imagine?
Yeah, he came out in 7.5% of my sims on FanDuel. He's 12% owned there. It's 6% on DraftKings. He's 8% owned there. It's like, I think he's perfectly reasonable in that 8 to 12% ownership range. Nothing major, nothing like, he just sort of exists on this slate. There's 11 games, there aren't a lot of standout plays at this point.
What about Orlando? Like, is Franz someone you want to get to? Like I said, they do have guys that are pulling some ownership. I don't know if any of them are like top options, but it's a bad offense against a bad defense.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'll probably have a bit more of Orlando than I really want to. And that has become sort of par for the course. We just see, we see Franz Wagner going out there playing like 33 minutes a game. Cole Anthony plays like 31 minutes a game. Jalen Suggs has been averaging like 33 minutes a game over the last 4 with RJ Hampton out. I find that to be mildly interesting. They're not playing Terrence Ross nearly as much. His minutes are down aggressively. Even Gary Harris, pretty firmly in like the 31-minute range. Maybe not the most interesting play in the world, but Cole Anthony, 6,400 on FanDuel, point guard, shooting guard eligibility, 6,800 on DraftKings. To me, he's very easily the best option you're going to get to from Orlando. 26% usage, 29% assist rate, 11% rebound rate. He just looks good. I'm surprised he's as good this year as he is. I didn't expect big things out of him, and this isn't exactly a great team to grow your skill set on, but evidently he's had no problem doing it. But he's not the only guy on Orlando that looks at least mildly solid. Mo Bamba's price is interesting on FanDuel, down to 4,800, but there's no limit to the amount of centers that you can get to at this point. If he falls into extra minutes, I think that's where it starts to get interesting. Suggs at 6,100, you get point guard, shooting guard. He's 12% owned. Franz Wagner's 5,600 on DraftKings. He's 15% owned. Wendell Carter gets the power forward eligibility as well as center, 6,700. He's 10% owned. And I don't have any qualms with any of those ownership spots. Like, I think you're getting 10 to 15% of all these guys that play 30 plus minutes, save for Gary Harris, who is not a very good per minute guy.
Somebody said in chat, a lot of other DFS YouTube channels are saying Cade is a full lock today. Haven't seen as much with Awesemo tools, reasoning, ? A full lock is a stretch on an 11-game slate. I mean, that's a stretch.
He's not even a cash play. Like, it's
a good way
like
to put it.
35th best play of the day today. If anybody is saying that on other channels that aren't ours, there's a reason they're not here.
He's a fine tournament option at his price.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no problem. Like, I got him at, I do have a bit of a boost on him right now. He's been 1.03 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. I've got him at 1.12 in this spot, and he still shows up in the optimal lineup less than 10% of the time. Sadiq Bey on FanDuel is closer to a lock play than Cade Cunningham is today. That's no indictment on Cade Cunningham. I like him in GPPs, but he's not even remotely close to a lock today.
Yeah, especially not a full lock.
No, again, he's a fantasy point per minute over the last 30 days. People are acting like it's 1.4 or some crazy nonsense. It's you get enamored by that huge game he's coming off of. He can do that. It's just, he's really good. There's a reason he was the number 1 pick.
Yep. I mentioned earlier, right at the top of the show, that we were going to have some games that we just don't spend a lot of time on.
Yeah, we're about to do this one.
Boston and Atlanta. And I guess we can talk about if DeAndre Hunter and Danilo Gallinari are out, but this is some of the lowest cumulative ownership I've ever seen for a team, Josh. It's crazy. Yeah. And then Boston really isn't that much different. You got a little bit going to Jaylen Brown, a little bit going to Jason Tatum, but for the most part, this game is wildly unpopular today. Do you agree with that?
I certainly do. I mean, on the DraftKings side, the highest owned guy for Boston is 4.3% owned Jaylen Brown, and I 100% agree with it. To me, you're not rostering anybody on Boston on purpose. If you end up having 8,900 and you want to put Jaylen Brown in, like, I get it. I don't see any of these guys as particularly good plays when they're at full strength. On FanDuel, some of the prices get a little bit better. Tatum, Brown, Horford, all about 10% owned. I actually think Robert Williams is the best option though on FanDuel, 7,500. For some reason, he gets power forward eligibility. He'll basically never play a single minute of power forward in his entire life, but I'll take it from a flexibility standpoint. Instead of being like a 4% owned guy, these are 10% owned guys on FanDuel. They're still not all that interesting. If I'm going to anybody, it's no one on DraftKings. It's Robert Williams and Al Horford on FanDuel. And again, anytime you ever want to get to actual good players like Tatum and Brown, they're never wrong in your lineup.
Right.
They're just appropriately priced on an 11-game slate.
Brody says with a super chat, thanks, Brody. Those live watch parties, the 2K sim streams, and the old strategy shows were the best. Miss y'all together. We'll be back, man. We'll be back. We just had a lot of NFL. Yeah. 2K sims it was a wild time of our lives. Feels like forever ago now.
It kind of was forever ago now.
Yeah, it was. It was almost 2 years.
Yeah. And that does not feel true. It feels like 6 months ago.
The real stars were the people that were our guys behind the scenes that put together all that. Because remember, we gave away like 10K to first, and we were giving away like 70-inch flat screens and stuff,
and grills and all sorts of nonsense. Yeah, I mean, that was the amount of work that people did on the back end that nobody has any idea about is way more interesting than you, me, and Ben showing up and just talking about a video game on our screen. Like,
although that Boston and Golden State game where we legitimately jumped out of our seats,
the Barnacle of the Bay, baby.
Barnacle of the Bay. That's right.
Or the almost full court buzzer beater in Orlando, Milwaukee.
Yeah. Oh, Vucevic. It was Vuce from beyond this, from under. We got to bring that back one day. Just do an NBA 2K stream.
I would love it.
I always drank prior to that anyway, because it was quarantine. There was nothing else you could do.
I'm pretty sure we drank during it too.
Yeah.
I had literally nothing else to do.
Do you have anything else for Atlanta? And if anything, like, the problem here, Josh, is that we're waiting on so much big news. I mean, even with Houston, you have Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. questionable. You've got a lot of spots. Jimmy Butler's still questionable against a, depleted Clippers team. So the DeAndre Hunter and Danilo Gallinari news on another site might be somewhat relevant, but it's hard to look at it as a huge spot here if one or two of them ends up being out.
Yeah, this one's pretty tricky right now, just because we've got 30 something minutes of DeAndre Hunter floating in the breeze. We've got 25 minutes of Danilo Gallinari floating in the breeze. If both of those guys happen to be out, we're opening up a ton of playing time that we need to take advantage of. Like, it's not fun to get to some of the worst parts of Atlanta. There are only so many guys that can take on minutes, but like TLC probably ends up playing like 28 minutes at that point in time. Bogdanovic seems pretty set in his playing time, so I don't know what we really do there. Kevin Huerter probably goes from, expecting him to play like 28 minutes to 34, 36. We've seen him get really big time run when other guys end up being out. And, Hunter, not the biggest usage guy in the world. He's like a neutral guy. Gallo, basically the same thing. But I think that opens up at least a little bit more for Trae Young, for John Collins. Minutes certainly for John Collins could probably go up a little bit because you're taking out 20 something minutes at the 4 of Gallo and however many minutes you want to say Hunter plays at the 4. So you got to pay attention to Atlanta. But if those guys happen to be in, I think the only guy you really want to get to is Trae Young on DraftKings, or on FanDuel rather, at 9,100. Otherwise, I find this entire team to look terrible.
Yeah, they are. And so does our boom bust tool. So does ownership. Everything does right now. The Lakers, though, facing Charlotte. And Chris G said you guys added 15 more minutes just to talk shit. And then he said, love it. But I didn't see that at first. I was about to get a little aggressive over here. Yeah. But thanks, Chris. Yeah, we're trying to. I think we're doing quite well. We're doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we've done this.
It's going to happen.
It's really exciting to know that we're on the third game already, because normally we might not even be on Detroit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, almost 3 games in is pretty good. This one's going to take a while. And there's some games too that we're just not going to have to spend a lot of time on, at least certain sides of games that we'll still get to. But Lakers. Yeah. So you have Anthony Davis who played 33 plus minutes in a game that ended up being a blowout. He's questionable in the second of a back-to-back. Russ is questionable in the second of a back-to-back. LeBron's questionable, and Malik Monk is out. Avery Bradley's questionable too. So, I mean, this is really this is going to be a pivotal spot on this slate. It is a 7:30 game, so maybe we'll get it sooner than we hope.
We should hope, because this is a disaster waiting to happen.
It's tough, man.
So I think we could start here. If everybody is in, then basically no one looks good to me except for Anthony Davis on FanDuel, 8,900 power forward center.
Do you think he'd get regular minutes?
I see no reason why he wouldn't.
Yeah, if he plays,
I gave him 33. Like, it's a wrist injury. I mean, I assumed he was going to sit on the back-to-back regardless. So at the very least, they don't appear to be doing that. If they want to use the wrist as a thing, that's fine. I actually think he looks good at 8,900 on FanDuel. I don't have much interest in LeBron or Russ if these guys are in. I don't, I guess Stanley Johnson works as a value play if you really, really need a pay down option. But if they're all in, I don't think Malik Monk being out frees you up for anything all that interesting. It's when we start lopping these guys off that it becomes a problem.
If they just mail this game in and you're already down Malik Monk, this is when on an 11-game slate, you might be looking at a Lakers, or you might be looking at lineups where you're running like 4 Lakers. Because another thing too, you're not facing the Suns. You're not facing a full strength Jazz team. Like, you're not facing a skilled defense. You're facing a team that plays one of the fastest paces in the league and has one of the worst defensive ratings in basketball in Charlotte. Yeah. Dude, they dropped 100. That game the other day, even though they dropped 156, it had scored almost 300. No, I think it scored over 300 total. No, I'm sorry. It was 284 points.
Yeah, that's insane.
A lot of points in Charlotte games, Josh.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if the Lakers exactly have those kind of guys that can do that sort of scoring.
I'm just saying it's a fast-paced spot.
It's a great
run.
If for some reason they all end up out, you're playing everything that starts for the Lakers and probably even more than that. It's hard to really touch on any individuals here because, if Russell Westbrook's out, that changes things because you're getting more minutes to different guards. If LeBron's out, it's more wingy. If AD's out, then you're probably seeing some Dwight Howard as a value play. So it's really difficult to focus on any of these machinations other than the fact that as you take one or more of these guys off, somebody has to look good after that. Like, it's possible Stanley Johnson plays north of 30 minutes and becomes a really interesting 3K play. If you happen to get 2 of these 3 guys out and Talen Horton-Tucker's playing 30 minutes with some increased usage, he's going to look really good. There are guys like Avery Bradley, Austin Reeves, Wayne Ellington, who just suck as DFS plays, generally speaking. But if they're in a starting lineup and you're projecting them for 28 plus minutes, then they become mildly viable as value options. I don't think that anybody outside of Talen Horton-Tucker and Melo can look like guys you absolutely need to have because they're just not that kind of per minute performers. But you're going to turn in a lot of value plays as we start losing something in this game. And I have no idea, before Chad asks, and I know it's going to happen, I have no idea what they're going to do here. I don't have the first guess. It seems to me like at least one of them's not going to play. At this point in time, I wouldn't be super surprised if all 3 of them sat, but I don't have a lean anywhere. I hope I get the information early enough that I can do something with it.
Yeah. And you'll have live before lock coming up after this as well. So you should get some information there. We did get we got the LeBron news yesterday during the deeper dive, Josh. So it's possible. It's possible that we get it. Dope Heathen said, "What's up, Dope Heathen?" He said, "I learned my lesson playing these scrubs from the Lakers yesterday." Yeah, I mean, Westbrook was so bad yesterday.
Not good.
Almost all of them were bad. But it's so much different if Westbrook, Davis, LeBron, and even Malik Monk, who would have been a stellar play if all 3 of those guys were out and he was in. All 4 of those guys are out. You have to grin it. You have to bite the bullet and just do it. I mean,
we're replacing more than half of the minutes that are normally played by the
Lakers. Exactly. You know, Charlotte games are averaging over 230 points this year. I mean,
yeah,
it's just the way it is. And the great thing is they're allowing 115 points per game. They're scoring 115 points. They're not good enough to, they'll probably rout the Lakers today, but it won't matter because they won't have anybody. So,
yeah, I mean, there's a decent chance the starting lineup here is like Austin Reeves, Avery Bradley, THT, Mello, and
Stanley
Howard
Johnson.
or Stanley Johnson, which is, I mean, that's the type of team that like isn't going to beat the Bobcats team that won 7 games.
Man, Dope Ethan's not wrong. These are some scrubs for DFS, but
it's really, really bad. Like if Darren Collison were still on the Lakers from that COVID 10-day contract type joint, he might be the best active player if those 3 guys are all out.
I think he would be my favorite just from an overall ability to move the ball. Like,
Darren Collison would be like a rotational potential starting point guard if he just never left to become a Jehovah's Witness.
Right. Is that why you laughed?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no, that's not a joke. I'm like 99% sure it's Jehovah's Witness, but he left specifically to be more involved in whatever his religious belief is.
Isn't that the one where you like your standing in heaven is improved by the amount of people? It's kind of like multi-level marketing, like the amount of people that you can convert to Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, that's
probably
what they do go door to door, right?
They do, I believe.
They do. I know they do. Saying like, I think that's what happens.
Can you imagine if Darren Collison showed up to your house though? I mean, I wouldn't know it was him unless he had a name tag on, but
yeah, I'd be like, come back as Joel Embiid and I'll consider it.
There you go.
But no, that what you're saying though, and it's obvious, someone has to put the work in here. The usage has to go somewhere. Like Melo might shoot 25 times if all those guys are out.
I mean, if those 3 guys are out, Carmelo Anthony is 5,200 on FanDuel, which isn't the best price in the world, but he's still very interesting. 4,400 on DK.
Yep.
Got to do it. You got to do it.
Gonna...
THT is probably like the guy that can functionally turn into the best thing. 4K on FanDuel, 3,600 on DraftKings. If he's going to start and get 30 something minutes, he's going to be probably the most popular play of the day.
Man, the first strategy show we ever did, we spent like 30 minutes on Carmelo Anthony.
We did, but it was a baseball show.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't the NBA season.
No, I think you're right. What about, because I think Tom afterwards was like, good show, guys, but.
Yeah. Well, that was back when it's not like we had 9 shows coming up after things. We were allowed to just go and talk as long as we wanted to. Right. And we didn't lose viewership in those times. We'd go for 2 hours and it would grow and grow and grow. Yeah. So,
on like 4-game slates.
Yeah. And I was producing it too. It's not like we were holding somebody hostage.
Right. Exactly. I forgot about that. Yeah. You produced. You taught me how to do it. I hated it.
I wasn't a huge fan of it myself.
Well, when things would go wrong, I would panic. It's like your inability to watch Kill Tony because you can't handle it. For me, I would just get insane anxiety because I wasn't good with it. But the Lakers on the other side, though, with Charlotte, the Lakers play at a fast pace. Charlotte's second fast paced team in the league. The Lakers are 3rd fastest. I don't know who they're going to have today, but let me ask you this. We'll take both sides of this. If everybody plays, do you still like LaMelo and Plumlee and maybe some Bridges? And if they don't play, what does that do for these guys too?
I mean, this is my favorite team on the slate today. If Oubre happens to be out, it just gets better because Charlotte hasn't really seemed like they don't seem to want to extend their rotation and play more guys all that frequently. They just play the guys that play even more minutes. And I love these. I have Oubre in. I love these guys. Bridges is in 25% of my lineups. 25% of my sims will be in more of my lineups. Ball is in 25% of my sims. Cody Martin's in 25% of my sims. Mason Plumlee's in like 15. Rozier's in about 10. PJ Washington on FanDuel is in like 10 to 15. This is the best team on the slate. No matter what happens with the Lakers news, like that's really independent of all of this for me. I want to get to basically as much Charlotte as I possibly can today.
All right. I like it.
And if Oubre happens to be out, you could probably take some flyers on James Bouknight, but it's just going to make Bridges and Ball and Rozier and Martin. It just makes those guys even more interesting than they already are. They're some of the Miles Bridges' price is down over the past couple of days. I think he looks even better today than he normally does. This pace-up spot against the Lakers is a dream matchup. Although I do wonder if the pace-up spot really exists if Russ isn't there, but that's neither here nor there. They still look incredible, even if you want to say that the Lakers play slow.
LaMelo being your top option, who I'm assuming he is, right, for Charlotte?
I could go either way between LaMelo and Bridges.
Okay.
The salary savings works for me. I think it's easier for Bridges to play a couple more minutes than LaMelo, and I think that sort of narrows the gap. But if we're talking about just from a ceiling perspective, LaMelo Ball is the best play on the Hornets.
All right. They've been involved in a lot of blowouts lately too. Like Bridges just lost a lot of minutes recently. So that certainly plays into it. Portland and Houston. Before we do though, Tyler, throw that link into chat. Time to talk about our sponsor, Yahoo Daily Fantasy, because, well, if you sign up, you get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. I mean, why would you not do that? I know most of you probably already have at this point. Their payout structures are the best out there. You're truly not going to find that elsewhere. It's like the 500K Sunday baller for football this week. You're not going to find. I don't think there is a management fee or rake. I don't think there is one. So that just means that everything that gets paid into the prize pool is going back to the people playing. You won't find that. You just simply won't. And they do it with a ton of contests. It's not just one or two. Like, it's not like a gimmicky thing. They're doing that. And look, they're trying to continue to build up their user base, and there's no better time to play on a site than when that's the case. So get the free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Everything on the site, all of our tools. We got Yahoo tools for all of them as well. Ownership, top stack, boom bust, lineup builder, player projections, you name it. You can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, which also has Yahoo as well. I mean, you name it. And the link's in the description or it's in chat. Use that because Yahoo will also give you $10 when you sign up and deposit. And one other thing. If you want to get access quicker, email us at support@awesemo.com and we'll do our best to expedite the process for you to get you set up. But yeah, I mean, this is always a super easy read for me to do, Josh, because like I've sold shit before. You know, I've sold telemarketing shit, and it's very difficult to just lie to people. I don't have to lie to people with this.
No, it's an exceptional place to play. Contests are better. It's just great. And it's the only place you can get YSRPs. So that's pretty good.
Get them YSRPs, son. I think they changed the name of them.
They didn't.
I don't think what's that?
They didn't.
No, it's still YSRPs.
Per my account.
Okay. Get those YSRPs, baby. Check it out. Just link in the description or the one in chat. Sign up. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. Portland, Utah. Does anything change significantly enough today with Nasir Little out for the season and Robert Covington being questionable?
Probably not. So you're probably just going to get a crap ton of minutes to like Tony Snell if Robert Covington ends up being out. Tony Snell is arguably the worst DFS player that you can get to. I mean, Avery Bradley might want to try to be the worst, but it might actually be Tony Snell. And I don't know if we get enough minutes to like the Greg Brown and Keljin Blevins of the world if Covington happens to be out. Now, if Covington happens to be in, I actually really like him today, particularly on FanDuel where he's power forward, small forward, which again, FanDuel, can you please just put the damn positions in the correct order? I can't rant about this any longer. I think Portland looks exceptional here. I mean, that's what happens when you face Houston. Houston stinks. They are the fastest team in the league per my pace metrics. So, I mean, someone like CJ McCollum is 20% owned across both sites, fully warranted. Norm Powell, 6,100 on DraftKings, about 20% owned, fully warranted. Anthony Simons, 20% owned on DraftKings at 6,800, fully warranted. Nurk's pulling 20% ownership. Now that one I pumped the brakes on a little bit just because there are a million centers every single day. And for one of them to like break off from the pack, to me, they usually have to be priced incorrectly. Nurkic is priced to me correctly. Now he's incredible. He's like a 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy in this spot, but I'm a little bit more apprehensive of just the concentration of ownership. Clearly looks like a great play. I have no problems with getting to Nurk. Might just be a little bit overowned because you can always find a different center.
I also don't love that Nurkic, the minutes are a little volatile with him, whether it's foul trouble or whatnot. I would assume if it's a close game, he's getting good enough run. But once you start getting up into that 8K range, I get a little trepidation as well. I think Houston's kind of interesting though, because if Christian Wood with the migraine ends up sitting, that makes this Houston front court a little fascinating, no?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to play like Şengün probably becomes the best center option on the slate. He's 3,500 on DraftKings. He's a little bit more expensive on FanDuel where he's 4K, but he's also got the power forward eligibility. So, I mean, what are we going to, like 26 minutes potentially if he's out? But we also don't have Larry Nance, so it's even easier to want to play Şengün up to 30. If you give, and I haven't looked into it yet. When I do, I'll get that final minutes projection. But if you give Şengün 30 minutes, he's going to be in 40+% of optimals and one of the top plays, if not the top play of the day, because he's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy at a bare bones price. I love Şengün. What is that? I hope that happens. I'd like to go to more Şengün. The Kevin Porter Jr. piece does the same thing though. If he ends up out, you're getting to Josh Christopher, shooting guard, small forward, 3,200. Armani Brooks, 3,100 on DraftKings. These guys go from not being a part of this slate at all to being key pieces of it. It's a big time swing for Houston.
Şengün's going to be sick, man. I love this kid. Are you a believer or you don't buy into him?
The middle of that, I guess.
Yeah. I think he has like unicorn potential. I'm not saying he gets there because a lot of them never do, right? But
sure.
I think the potential is there.
He's got to be able to shoot.
You can learn that.
Yeah. Talk to Ben Simmons about that. You can go to Ben Simmons, shooting coach.
Ben never tried. That's the problem. Did you see Shaq light his ass up yesterday on TNT?
No, but I'm not surprised that he did.
Oh, man. He wouldn't even call him by his name.
What was he calling him?
Bitch boy.
On TNT?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was like, holy shit.
I think he was just referring to him as like, yeah, his teammate and this and that. But he wouldn't refer to him by name. I watched it early this morning. But
I guess Shaq earned that. But, let's be clear here. Shaq didn't exactly come to play for half of his career.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm biased.
Obviously, that I'm Team Simmons.
Team Simmons, yeah, still amazingly somehow you still are.
The playoffs, the lack of taking that shot was pretty problematic.
Yeah, you and I had this conversation often, yeah. And I'll never forget because I was out with some buddies and I saw that last play, and I go, tomorrow Josh and I are going to do the show. If he will not concede after this, I don't know what to say. And you kind of said like, I've never seen anything like that in my life.
No, I've never seen anybody be too scared to take a dunk.
Oh God. Top options. First, do you like anything from Houston if everyone's active?
Like is probably a little strong, but like we've got Christian Wood, 8,300 power forward center on FanDuel with 2% ownership. Now I assume that's because of the Q tag. Same for Kevin Porter. Like they are the best plays. I'd say Jalen Green on DraftKings, 4,100 point guard, shooting guard. 23% usage. He's wildly inefficient, but he'll shoot. That's the one thing that he will do. The problem is 0.67 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. It just appears that nothing goes in for Jalen Green. I like him in GPPs, but he's probably properly owned too. No priorities from Houston if everybody's in.
Okay. And you're right. You guys are right in chat. He kept referring him to as the other guy. That's what it was. The other guy.
Damn.
Yeah, Utah, Memphis, no Donovan Mitchell, no Rudy Gobert. Again, both of them remain sidelined. A lot of times what you'll see happen is, we can talk about Whiteside, but a lot of times you'll just see these guys kind of find the peak of their value and max it out once top players have been out long enough. Has that happened with Utah, or is there still some value with the Jazz?
There's still a lot of value. It just mostly resides on FanDuel. Isaiah Battles, I don't know how you manage to come to these shows every day with such dog shit takes, but good God, here we are. I'm taking Prime Rondo over Magic.
He also said Cade Cunningham could be a top 15 player all time.
That's more reasonable than that take. Prime Rondo over Magic Johnson. At what? Not getting, never mind.
So would you say it's like a lukewarm take, or it's just bad?
It's just horrible. I don't know how anybody can come to those thoughts in any way, shape, or form. Right. I don't think it's trolling. He's actively not bright in this chat on a day-to-day basis.
Prime Rondo, bro.
I can't even imagine having that take.
What do you? I saw when I was asking you that question that your eyes lit up, and I knew we'd get diverted for a second. Do you like Hassan Whiteside today?
I do. This is another situation where like I don't necessarily know if I like him the same as the field, but 15% ownership works. He's 6,500 on FanDuel, 27% owned. I like him a little bit more on FanDuel. I think the price just works a little bit better. Mike Conley is 32% owned on. So on DraftKings, I don't think the rest of Utah looks all that interesting. They're not pulling any ownership. They're not really popping in my sim scores. They're all priced up a little bit. They're priced down on FanDuel. Conley's 5,800 on FanDuel in comparison to 7,100 on DraftKings. That's a completely different play. I think he looks good on FanDuel. Maybe not 32% owned good, but happy to be there. Jordan Clarkson, 5,700 on FanDuel with point guard, shooting guard eligibility. On DraftKings, $1,500 more expensive. Joe Ingles, $800 cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. I think that you can get to Whiteside, Conley, Clarkson, Ingles with some pretty regular, like a bit of regularity on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's a completely different play. So make sure you're aware of which site you're playing on for that day, because I can't just say like, I like Mike Conley, because that's a lie on DraftKings and a true statement on FanDuel.
Magic Johnson or prime Ben Simmons for someone who loves Ben Simmons so much?
I mean, obviously Magic Johnson.
Okay. What if Simmons was a nasty shooter?
Ben Simmons might be the best player in the league.
I mean, what a waste of talent, huh?
I guess.
Just admit it, Josh. How long is it going to take you?
I mean, is he wasting it? He cashed the checks.
You got a bunch sitting in escrow.
That's true too.
Do you like anything else for Utah? You want to hit on Memphis?
No, not really. It just, if you're playing guys from Utah today, Whiteside's fine on DraftKings. Otherwise, you should only be playing them on FanDuel.
All right. So kind of same scenario here at Memphis. You still don't have Kyle Anderson. He's been out for like 10 days now in COVID protocol. Still no Dylan Brooks. He's going to be out a little bit longer. And Tyus Jones is also out. He's in health and safety protocols as well. So that's been the case. Nothing really changes here from where we've been the past few games.
No, like Ja Morant falls into the better than Jason Tatum bucket, where if you want to get to him, that's fine. He's about 10% owned. Seems right to me. Desmond Bane, I think, is the best play in this game, particularly on DraftKings at 6,100. You get shooting guard, small forward eligibility, so you can also put him in guard, forward, and the utility spots. But after that, I just think that Memphis is pretty appropriately priced. Do I like Jaren Jackson? Yeah, he's fine at 6,700. He's not really pulling any ownership, nor should he. $4,700 Steven Adams is fine at center, but the replacement level at center is crazy. So he can only be so good. I'm happy to fill out with any of these Memphis guys that are a part of the rotation. Bane would be the priority here. But again, nobody's just immediately jumping out. As we start to get more value, I think Ja starts to look even better and better. I just think he's a little bit difficult to get to today.
What's he out on DraftKings? 10-3.
10-3. Okay. The lack of a second eligibility piece is just so big for some of these guys. When you can only be in point guard, you can only get so high in ownership when you're appropriately priced.
Man, Ja's usage has been insane lately.
He's so good. He's fun to watch.
He's getting to the line too. And we kind of overlook how valuable that is, right? Like when you look at guys such as Embiid and people go, oh, all he does is shoot free throws, or James Harden, down a bit, but we've seen James Harden, the guy that led the league in free throws for years on end, right? That's really helpful when you're not shooting particularly well. And it's good to see Ja actually getting to the stripe. He's also, I think he's averaging like 28 shots per game over his last 4. So without Dylan Brooks, without Anderson, it's pretty evident that this guy's just going to chalk.
I'm such a big fan of his. Really excited to see what the rest of his career becomes.
All right, here, let me rile you up.
Oh, this should be good.
Ja Morant or Trae Young?
Trae Young.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. See, I thought just from a defensive standpoint, you hate Trae Young's defense so much that you would switch up.
I mean, Morant's not too far behind him.
No, he's not, but okay, so you still take.
By the way, that's not like I am not comfortable with that answer. I think it's incredibly close. Josh shooting 36% from 3 this year. That's not really something that I was expecting. So I don't know. Trae's at 38% for this year. These two guys are just going to be a part of all-star games for a pretty long time moving forward. I think it's
Rondo,
very, very, very close.
All right, last one. Let's see what the chat has to say about this. This will be fun. Throw a poll up too, Tyler. Prime Rondo or prime Westbrook?
Westbrook, not close.
Okay. I'm just throwing out guys that you always frequently argue against.
Well, yeah, I've only been arguing against Russell Westbrook since he's become bad. Like, he was incredible.
I know.
When he was efficient, it was different. Now he just can't score anywhere, and he's one of the worst defensive players I've ever seen play basketball.
Oh, just to be clear, I'm 100% with you on Westbrook in his prime. I just, this is a guy that people will rile you up about for sure. Yeah. Let's talk about the Clippers in Miami. We got free content on the site today too. If you want to check it out, you don't need a sub for that. You don't need anything. NBA player rankings, NHL top stacks, both of them free. And if you want to get in on all the tools that we reference throughout the show and that everybody uses day in and day out, awesemo.com/join. Whether you want to do a week, a month, a year, you can do one sport, all sports. You can do an NBA Express Pass for less than $4 a week. Whatever your budget is, whatever style of player you are, how serious you are, we got something for everybody. And I would definitely suggest checking out the tools, all of which built by Awesemo himself. Pretty decent player. Clippers, no Marcus Morris again.
Yeah.
Does that shake anything up for us today?
No.
Yeah.
This Clippers team is bleak. Terrence Mann is 12% owned on DraftKings. That's the only guy. There's only two other guys that are getting even 7%. That's Hartenstein and Luke Kennard. There's not much there for me on the Clippers side of this one on DK. Isaiah Hartenstein is a $3,900 power forward on FanDuel, pulling 19% ownership per our last run. He's played 19 and 26 minutes the past two games. You got to hope that he's playing the 19 plus to think that he should be in 19% of your lineups today. I think that's just a testament to how little value we have. That ownership is going to completely go away by the time any of this news starts to come out. So I have very little interest in the Clippers. I'd say Terrence Mann is probably like my favorite, and I use the term favorite incredibly loosely.
When we're 10 away from 2,000 concurrent and 77 away from 400 likes. And by the time we get to 2K, we should be able to hit 400 likes within 13 seconds here. It shouldn't, atone for your sins if you've forgotten. And if you're on your cell phone, you click out of that chat for a second. Appreciate it. We got to feed the eye. We got to play the games around here. You know how it goes. I would love to not ask for likes. It'd make my life easier, Josh. But it's the way it goes around there, unfortunately. That's what we got to do. Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy Butler, questionable. He has right now the highest leverage score in our boom bust tool. I don't know how much of that is maybe we're projecting lower ownership just based on him potentially being out.
Yeah, that's probably 100% it. We had 1.2% the last time that I got an ownership update. Let me see if we got one. It looks like we did get one 5 minutes ago. Let me grab it. I don't think it's going to change, but that's the reason.
Wouldn't this projection be lower too then? So, you know what I mean?
Are you really asking me?
Yeah, I don't know. 1 minute. Okay, let's see. Did it change?
I'm pasting them in now.
No.
It's 3%. It's still too. He's 8,700 small forward, power forward, and 8,700 small forward shooting guard on FanDuel. He will not be 3% owned if he got rolled in right now. That number is significantly higher.
What do you think it would be at if he's active?
I got him at 13% coming out of mine. You could give me anything in like that 10 to 20 range, and I'd believe it.
What about on DraftKings?
10 to 20.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any other interest in non-Jimmy Butler plays for the Heat?
I like Tyler Hero, whether Butler plays or not. 6,300 on FanDuel. 6,900 on FanDuel, shooting guard, small forward. 6,400 on DraftKings. Even when Butler is in, Tyler Hero still has a 30% usage rate. I don't want to turn my back on that basically ever, especially with the eligibility that he has. If Butler's out, I don't think it should be surprising in the slightest to want to go there. If Butler ends up out, though, you're probably going to like Max Strus and Caleb Martin significantly more than the 0% ownership these guys are projecting for right now, because you got to hand out another 36 minutes. Bam looks fine, 8K on FanDuel, but he's got the power forward eligibility. The price tag on DraftKings is great at 7,500, and I think he's basically properly owned at 13%. He'll look even better again, obviously, if Butler is out, but with him in, we're talking like 60% true shooting on 25% usage, close to 20% assist and rebounding rates. It's just, again, center. Every team feels like they have like a really good option at center today.
He's got a big toe irritation.
Yeah, me too.
Adam Palmer, thanks for the super chat. What is contrarian value 50 to 60% and ranking 67%? Sorry to ask you during midstream. I don't know what he means.
That's a super chat?
Yeah.
I can't even see. I don't even know where that super chat is.
It's like it just came up.
Oh,
Maybe talking about the
it.
lineup builder?
Yeah, that's lineup builder. So the long and short of it is you're going to get a score for both of those two things. Value is going to be 0 to 100. Contrarian value is going to be 0 to 100. In the NBA in particular, your value ranking probably needs to be 80% or higher, maybe 70%, depending on the slate. Your value rating is basically how many points is that lineup projected for. The contrarian value is going to tell you how different you are than the field. Depending on what type of contest you're in is going to depend on what kind of answer is good there. In general, we sort of recommend anything north of 100 in the aggregate. Adding both of those numbers together is going to be like a decent lineup. If you're playing a cash game, you want your contrarian value to be like 0 to 10%. If you're playing GPPs, if you can get a 50 to 60% contrarian value with a 80 to 90% point value, that's a pretty good lineup for a larger field GPP.
Well worth the $5, I'd say. Jeremy Savage with the super chat says, shout out to Isaiah Battles. Thanks for the laughs.
Tell you what, if that $5 was sitting on my office floor, it would be there forever.
Yes, it would. I think that's where the general disdain for Josh Engleman came into play. Just for your random people, when they heard that you wouldn't pick 20 off the guy. I'm serious. I think that was the catalyst.
Yeah, that doesn't make it any less true, though.
You really wouldn't do it.
No chance. No chance. Maybe if the weather's good. But like, what if the wind blows it a little bit? Then I'm chasing $20. Come on now. I can't be looking like that. What if there's nobody
around?
Where am I walking that there's just like a 20 laying in the middle of nowhere?
It's cold day out. Everyone stayed in. Or it's like beginning of COVID. Everyone's scared.
I seriously mean this. I don't need it. So whoever else finds it probably needs it more than me.
All right, you saved it. I got you. That's a good answer. Man, I know that's not.
I don't even carry cash around. I don't even know what I would do with it now. Who do you give that to?
Yeah, I pay with everything in Doge.
Yeah, I just pay in B Pro and whatever other bullshit Ben's made me buy in the past year.
Sam Van Dam with the free super chat. There we go. Member for 10 months. Utilize that shit, man. So we should be promised at least one show with you two every day, once a day. We'll be doing a lot more shows, man. We will. Football's almost.
Oh yeah, I mean, in 2 more weeks, it's going to be a steady diet of me, you, and Adam just rotating through these 2 shows.
And we got to have some fun with some like novelty Super Bowl bets and stuff once we get closer to we had a good time with that. Alan Alexander, glad to have you back. Y'all's back. Glad to be back, man. Appreciate you. The support.
It's fun.
Really means a lot.
It's fun. I'm glad I took this show for Adam.
Yeah. Hey, hopefully Adam's not watching.
I will bet my life Adam's not watching.
Yeah. No, of course not.
I'm going to guess that Adam isn't subscribed to the Awesemo YouTube channel.
That would be peak Adam. But it's so funny. Like, he's engaged in chat now. He's in there moderating comments. I never thought I'd see the day. Did you?
No, I'm not. I don't even understand why.
He's a changed man. He did
all this
DMT.
Winning. I don't know if he's just trying to like buy some good vibes.
He did DMT with a shaman, and
I'd give anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little dimethyltryptamine. He was out there with Rogan and a shaman, and he came back a changed man. Credit to him, huh?
I just need one friend that wants to take a flight to Peru, and I'm in.
My fear is that, like, I've just done so many bad things in my life, and I feel like I haven't atoned for so much of it. that it would just be an awful, awful experience for me.
Yeah, that's why I want to do it.
Oh, okay. No, I've had enough insanely miserable trips in my day.
Yeah, but this is different miserable.
One day we'll get at. I have some stories that'll blow your mind when it comes to that stuff. It definitely not how you want things to go. But you're right. If you come out of the other side, the other side, a changed person, it's probably worth it. But you can't go.
I might not want to do it right now. I feel like I would be dredging up a lot of stuff I don't want to think about, but it'd still be pretty fun.
You just be up there and Isaiah Battles is waiting for you.
God.
Daryl Ward's sitting there. Oh, hello, Josh.
It would just be like all this YouTube chat nonsense in my mind. It's just like, oh, it's real. It's everywhere. Everybody's a YouTube troll.
Fuck your like button. Domantas Sabonis is questionable. Here's another big one. If he's out, have we, I used the phrase earlier, but like, have we maxed value out on Indy, or can we get to maybe a Karis LeVert who hasn't played that well, but with Brogdon out, Turner out, Sabonis potentially out, you feel like that LeVert game has to come eventually, no?
I mean, I'm happy to play him on FanDuel at 7,800. I can't believe 14% of people are playing him on DraftKings at 8,800. I don't have a ton of interest. Like, I think if Sabonis is in, I probably won't have anything from Indiana other than a little bit of LeVert on FanDuel. I don't think that I would get a single share of anyone on DraftKings. I think they're all just poorly priced or don't look good. If he's out, then, LeVert's all right. It's not a huge change to LeVert, oddly enough. If Sabonis is in, it's not like he takes this like 10-point usage bump. Sabonis, basically, no matter who's in or out, is seeing no changes to his rates at all under Rick Carlisle. It used to be that would be make a gigantic difference. It doesn't appear that that's the case. So I don't really see LeVert changing all that much. He's fine on FanDuel and, to me, unappealing on DraftKings. And I don't really know who else I could possibly get to for this team. Now, if Sabonis is out, Goga is 5,400 on FanDuel, 6,300 on DraftKings. That's a great center play again. But at the same time, we've already named one guy on every team that seems like a pretty solid center play.
That's
Goga at 5,400 is the guy, though.
Exactly. Thunder have been pretty healthy for a while now. So, like, all these prices have kind of found their equilibrium. Yeah. Gilgeous-Alexander has played well. He's the highest priced option on this team. Highest price and also highest owned, rightfully so. He's looked great, but is he just more of a secondary option for you today?
Oh God, I'm so tired of this Oklahoma City team. I want them to all go away. Like he's 10-2 on FanDuel is a price that I don't really think you can get to for Shea. 9,300 on DraftKings is more reasonable, but it's just point guard eligibility. He's pulling no ownership, and I don't really think that he should. Did I paste this in incorrectly, or did we do something different? Did I miss Oklahoma City news?
Do we have OKC news?
Hold on. Did I just paste this into the wrong thing? Is that the only reason that this is happening?
I'm assuming so.
Okay, yeah, I did. I was like, Josh Giddey projected for 26% ownership on DraftKings. Apparently everybody started doing drugs. That's not correct. So let me go ahead and update that one quickly. I pasted FanDuel in across both sites, so it didn't make a lick of sense to me at all. Shea, 11% owned, totally fine on DK. The real guys that we're talking about are on FanDuel. Josh Giddey, for some strange reason, FanDuel just prices Josh Giddey differently than DraftKings does. He's 5,700 on FanDuel and 7,300 on DK. He's pulling 26% ownership on FanDuel. I get why it's happening. He's probably a cash play. I'll probably have a little bit less than the field, but he's the best play that you're going to find on Oklahoma City across either site. Dort, again, fine. You can kind of play Shea, Giddey, and Dort whenever you want because they're the only guys that are firmly playing 32 minutes or more in a game. The other guy that's pulling any ownership, which should go away the moment we start getting any news, is 13% owned Kenrich Williams. I will just get beat by 13% owned Kenrich Williams at 3,700 on FanDuel if he happens to be maintaining that ownership. That's just not a guy that I'm interested in getting to. He's fine, but you need everything to go right there. Oklahoma City just doesn't look all that great outside of Giddey and Dort.
All right, easy enough. We have 4 to go, making decent time. I'm pretty impressed.
I'm a little surprised, if I'm being honest.
It It appears that Daryl Ward had an awakening too. Maybe some psychedelic experience. Just said he has no problem with Josh and that it's a great show. Keep it going.
Sure.
Yesterday or this morning was a little different.
Yeah, he did not seem to like me one bit.
No, he didn't. I tuned in right as that was happening. Oof. And then you had somebody like allowing the comments because they were held from review. 90% chance that was
somebody.
Adam.
Yeah,
Adam. Clearly Adam.
Sure.
Just try. That's all right. All right, man. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I still say leave.
Denver, New Orleans. Let's talk about the Nuggets, 4.5 point favorites. No real news here. On the other side, you got Joe Val, Ingram, Josh Hart, all of that good stuff that we can dig into. Those guys all missed last game. But Jokic, dude, super expensive, but even on 11 game slate, he's our highest projected player, but ownership is not coming in heavily now that price is soaring. 12.6 on DraftKings, 11.3 on FanDuel, a little bit more palatable though.
Yeah, like I like him because he's Jokic, but I find him to be really difficult to get to at this point. That'll certainly open up. But then again, if the value that's opening up is Alperen Şengün at center, then maybe Jokic doesn't look as interesting and we're just paying up for other guys. So if you're asking me what I want to get from Denver, it's basically nothing. You know, Will Barton for 5,500 is probably the best play in this game for Denver. And even then he's 10% owned. And I think that's about right. So for me, look, if you can build a lineup with Jokic in it and you like it, by all means, take the guy that basically averages a triple-double and is the point guard, small forward, and center for the team. But I don't think he looks great from a fantasy perspective. This salary is massive, and we don't have the kind of value to make it easier.
We could, though.
We could. We certainly could. We certainly could.
Like, I wonder what happens to a guy at Jokic's price point and Giannis's price point if the Lakers do end up mailing it in and just say, all right, we're sitting everybody today.
Someone like Giannis is going to go up a little bit more than Jokic because Jokic is still just locked into that center position. You lose a lot of the flexibility that can push him up very easily. And again, we have so many centers that are available that if like Nurk goes for 55, you probably need 75 plus out of Jokic at that point in time to really offset the salary changes. And that's not to say anything for any of these other value centers that could pop up, or like if Joe Val happens to be out and we're getting Hernan Gomez or Jackson Hayes or whichever one of those guys ends up being relevant in that regard. I guess we're going to talk about that in a second. I don't think Jokic can go up all that much, at least not on DraftKings. On FanDuel, where it's 11.3, I think it's a little bit more feasible, but I think he's a little bit limited by the position that he plays.
I got to say too, it feels unlikely that Vogel just sits these guys unless he has to. They're not really in a position to be resting players in games that they need to win. No,
I mean, I don't like, it's not in their best interest to punt this game with all three guys being out. They shouldn't want to do that for like logic's sake. I think all three guys, like they want all three guys to just be available, which is what scares me even more, that they all are really questionable and I have no idea what to do with them. If they were like the 2 seed right now and rolling, like, then you just sit all of them and who gives a shit? But I mean,
exactly.
They could just as easily miss the playoffs this year.
I know they're below 500, man. Not looking great.
Let's see. Are there odds out there? I assume there's playoff odds out there, right? Like make or miss the playoffs.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm going to try to beat you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Futures, let's see. To make the playoffs.
Yes.
The Lakers are. Oh, where are they?
Great work.
I can't find them.
I mean, you're the professional host.
Well, they're not on here. I mean, I just went to the first site I could think of. They're not on here.
Maybe it's because of all the Q tags?
Could be. I mean, it's certainly possible. Yeah.
Where you just pull them now because they're set to lose this game and those odds are just going to go down by the time the day ends. That could be the case.
Yeah, they're not on here. Maybe they're on some other books, but I'm not going to spend the time looking for that. Michael Nelson, welcome to Team Awesemo, brother. Glad to have you. Nice looking badge. Jeremy says with a super chat, Josh doesn't need $5. He needs White Claw. So here, the funny thing is Adam had one White Claw. He was drinking Jack and Gingers or like whiskey and gingers all before that. That's how all that started. That wasn't one White Claw, Josh.
I get that message from you and you're just like, yo, Adam's wrecked on the deeper dive.
Yeah.
And I immediately pulled up my phone and he's just like hiccuping through things. It's incredible. Oh my God. It was so great.
DM'd you and Ben. I was like, you guys need to watch this right now.
I did. And chat was all over it too. So I was just like, at first, like I looked at him, I was like, oh yeah, it looks like he's got a little bit of buzz on. And then chat, like the only thing chat was talking about was the fact that he was very clearly like not getting words out correctly. And at that point in time, I was like, oh, I'm in. And
the funny thing is his analysis was still good. So it didn't take away from it, but he slowed his speech down, 50%.
Yeah. You could hear it too. It was a little slurry.
He did have a couple slurs in there. Abel Ramos, he's lying. I paid him $20 to be nice to Josh. So he's talking about Daryl. Well, that was nice of you. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Thanks.
It must have been the $20 that I didn't pick up.
Yes, it certainly could have been. All right. Did you want to hit on anything else for Denver?
No.
Well, with the Pels, are you projecting all of them in right now? Joe Val, Ingram, and Hart?
I am. I don't really know what to do with that sort of information. I mean, Ingram seems like the easiest guy to not project in since he's been out. But
by the way, we're still on 8 p.m. games.
Yeah, it's insanity. It's insanity. Wait, do we have 3 more after this?
3 more. Yeah, we're fine. We got 12 minutes. We're good.
That's fair. Yeah, the Knicks Milwaukee game doesn't have a lot going on for it.
No.
It's really hard to bring any analysis here. If Joe Val is out, then we're going to be getting a 48-minute split between Jackson Hayes and Willie Hernangomez. We saw Willie Hernangomez get the start last time out when this was the case. He's $5K on FanDuel, also has power forward eligibility, 5,100 on DraftKings, just center, will be whatever. If Christian Wood happens to be out, Şengün will be better than him. If Jackson Hayes happens to start, he's a $3,900 only power forward on FanDuel, $3,700 center on DraftKings. I'll probably like Hayes regardless, whether he's named the starter or not. I don't think it'll matter. Like, clearly you want him to have the starter minutes and it be a little bit more likely for that to happen. He played 22 minutes the last time out when Joe Val wasn't available. They actually played Jackson Hayes and Willie Hernangomez alongside each other. Now that was no Hart, no Graham, no Valanciunas, no Ingram. So basically all of these guys. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen frequently, but 22 minutes of Jackson Hayes at power forward today at 3,900. We don't have a ton of value out there yet. That will stand out to me.
Tyler, what's up with the Hall of Fame slides? There's a blank one in the middle. What am I supposed to do here? What am I hitting on?
Well, just don't read the blank one.
Well, point is, do I do the ones below it as well?
Below me.
I don't know. All of these have been up here for a while. That's good. Let's do it. Let's go Awesome Hall of Fame. I feel bad whenever I don't do it because people work their whole lives, Josh, to get inducted into the Awesome Hall of Fame. And who am I to rob them of that experience?
Is our Hall of Fame better than the MLB Hall of Fame?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We definitely probably have some cheaters in ours too.
Yeah, the one guy photoshopped the Awesemo logos on and nobody caught it until I get on the show and I go, what is this?
He's like the David Ortiz of the Hall of
Fame. But I respected it. It was so bad that I respected it because he was like, hey, whatever. Let's see if it works. Yeah. Ended up being good stuff.
I appreciate it.
You want to get in on this, awesemo.com/avatar. Very simple stuff. Download the avatar. Use it on Yahoo, FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever the hell you want. And if you hit a big one or even win, all you can do is finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Like it could be a $40 win, as we saw the other day on a nickel entry. You still win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You still get into the Hall of Fame. You still catch all that love over there on Twitter because you got to tweet us at Awesemo HOF. So let's do it. D. Lenny, $100,000. That was a big one earlier this week. Left it up there for as long as we can. 17,000 for Zane. Another big one. Solo Ship is next on the agenda. Jimmy VB. This is what I'm talking about. 5-cent entry. First out of 24,000. $40. I don't know if that's a chop or what, but I mean, still get collect your free month, man. Melissa, 300. We've had a lot of hockey winners lately. Our hockey tools and hosts and analysts are coming through big. First place for Melissa. You got, it's Buffalo War Pigs. Sammy. All right. He's in all of our NFL shows and he tags every comment in all caps with the Buffalo War Pigs. Character, but I like it. Sammy, NHL, Awesemo has been good to me. Thanks for all the knowledge. $500. Good stuff, Sammy. And then we got Ben, $100. First place. First tiers win tonight. Thanks to the crew at Awesemo. 2 more here. What do we got? David Burton. Oh, that's our guy, David Burton. Bad Santa, 1,000, 1,500. Appreciate you guys for helping the thought process out daily. Still itching for the big one. And lastly, Soul Cube, 5K. Another NHL. Josh, a lot of NHL wins coming in.
Maybe I should start playing NHL. Take over like Adam's job as top NHL tout. Sorry, Jake. Second best tout behind Jake.
Yeah, Jake. Slim Cliffy does a great job. Josh, Harris. These guys all do great jobs. So check them out. All of the shows and content. But welcome to the Hall of Fame. And welcome back if you've been here before. 3 games to go, Josh. Let's do it. Tyler, move that sidebar, baby. Let's go. Chicago, San Antonio. What are you doing with the Bulls?
What am I doing with the Bulls? So obviously no Ball, no Alex Baker. We've got ownership coming into Zach LaVine on FanDuel because he's 7,500. I think he's one of the better plays you're going to find on FanDuel today. Happily getting to him even at 20% ownership. You know what you're doing for DeRozan, LaVine, Vooch. I mean, DeRozan's got a 33% usage rate when Ball and Caruso aren't on the floor. Takes on some additional playmaking roles. Starting guard for the East, even though he is only basically a power forward at this point. 12% owned on DraftKings seems totally reasonable to me. They're really the only 2 guys I have as any sort of priority. Vooch is too expensive. Dosunmu is, while he's heating up as of late, he's not really that kind of guy. 12% usage type character, 0.7 fantasy points per minute. So the only guys that I'm really trying to prioritize here are DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. We saw Kobe White get kicked to the curb, move to the bench. So I think his minutes are a little bit capped. 7K on DraftKings makes it impossible. 5,300 is sort of worth a flyer in a larger field GPP on the off chance that he just does a little bit more shooting with the second unit. But again, I think he's limited to, maybe 28 minutes in this one. Whereas if he's starting, he could play 34, 36. So ceiling is a little capped based on his role.
Demetrius Johnson. People are fiending for me to get to the super chat. Don't worry. We were getting there. Said, hey guys, quick favor. I'm in the car with this girl and have her listening to y'all instead of, I can't use the term y'all. I said it the other day, Josh. It sounds wrong when I say it.
I've been in the South now for close to 13 years. It's become quite a bit bigger part of my vernacular without me trying.
You use it, huh? Okay.
I do.
I don't think
it just soaks into your body. Like all the trans fats at all the chicken joints.
So y'all's just a part of you now. Okay.
It is.
Been listening to y'all instead of music. You're cruel, dude.
Do you want me to do that? I'll cover this one. I got it. Hey, Brianna, Demetrius said he wants to split up.
What an asshole. Brianna, Demetrius says you look beautiful tonight. How's that? It's a small request. You're trying to have her drive off the road.
Demetrius, I'm leaving you for your sister.
What if she did? What if that's how he broke up with her? Had you read it and she just straight rips the wheel? You feel hard.
I would have read I'd have been like Ron Burgundy with the teleprompter. I would have read anything he said to read there if it wasn't positive.
Yes. All right. What else do we have?
For Chicago, nothing.
Spurs.
Ugh. So Spurs might be the secondary Hornets tonight. They're on DraftKings priced significantly better than everybody else. Murray, White, Johnson, Pirtle, Vassell, all like 15% owned. And for the most part, I agree with it clear across the board. And they're probably going to look even better if we get more value, just because they're all either like mid-tier priced. So they work in balanced lineups or stars and scrubs. The only guy that you're paying up for here is Murray. He's been incredible as of late, 1.5 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days. So anything you want to do to get to DeJounte Murray looks fantastic to me. I think that you could really cast a pretty wide net for any one of the starters. And I think even $3,400 shooting guard small forward Lonnie Walker deserves a little bit of interest just because we have so little value on DK today. So as far as I'm concerned, San Antonio is like a slightly worse version than Charlotte tonight, but like you probably are making most of your lineups with one San Antonio Spur in it.
And it's Murray.
If you're asking me who I think the actual best guy is here, I would like to say it's Keldon Johnson, but he has been dog shit lately. 0.75 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days. So I can't get behind that as much as I would really want to. So yeah, for me, it's Murray. I think there's just too big of a ceiling there the way he's playing. He's a triple-double threat every single time he steps on the floor.
Daryl Ward with a super chat. Great show, guys. Keep it going. We're like Jehovah's Witnesses, man. Just making conversions left and right.
I'm so happy we don't have to go door to door.
Yeah, me too. Jordan Lockhart with the super chat. Thanks, Jordan. Say good vibes only tonight. Let's get some wins. Yeah, good luck with Josh being on the show. Having good vibes only.
Hey, that's me, man. Mr. Good Vibes. What have I done to make that? I said that I wouldn't pick up $20 because someone more or less fortunate than me would be able to pick it up. That's some good vibes.
Yeah.
Just because I'm trying to get Demetrius's girl to leave him. What do you want me to do?
You'd let that blow straight into a sewer.
I mean, if I saw it about to go to the sewer, it's not like I'm going to try to stop it.
Exactly. You're going to be like, someone else needs this. Let me dive.
Yeah. Now, are you going to try to stop it from going into the sewer? I mean, come on.
Probably not. No, you're right.
No. One of the Ninja Turtles could go get a pizza.
D Fick, free super chat. Use those free super chats if you're a member here at Awesemo. Tell Josh he looks beautiful tonight. Oh, that's nice.
I appreciate it. That should just be like a regular recurring message, but that's fine. I appreciate it nonetheless.
I saw Bat Jones and I immediately knew. DK Cash, Bruno Fernando, Dave Tinklers, or Kyle Guy.
For sure, Dave Tinklers.
There you go. Minnesota, Phoenix. I find this spot pretty good because if Russell and Beverly both sit, I mean, how many minutes do we give to Noel? He played almost 29 minutes yesterday. That was without Beverly, and then D'Angelo Russell still played 20 minutes himself in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Noel, if Beverly is out, Jalen Noel becomes interesting in general, but probably doesn't get a big enough bump. If Russell happens to be out as well, Jalen Noel is going to play 30 minutes. He's 4,100 on FanDuel, 4K on DK with point guard and shooting guard. He becomes one of those value plays that you're just getting to a ton. It'll make Edwards and Towns look a little bit better, but I don't like. I thought in a matchup with a 230 total, they'd look better. I don't really see it for Minnesota right now. They're not really getting all that much ownership. I don't think that they deserve it, even if Russell ends up being out. Like they'll both get a bit of a usage bump and they both become, probably like 10%ers today instead of the 5% ownership they're pulling. But Jalen Noel unequivocally becomes the best play of all of this group. And then if it's Beverly that's out and you want to roll the dice on a super duper cheap Taurean Prince, hoping he does get the same sort of run that he got in some of those other games where he played like 20 minutes, got up to 27 on the 25th. I can see that. There are worse value options you'll find, but I think you're going to need them both out to like have any real interest in Prince. But Noel will be the piece here. Maybe to a lesser extent, Malik Beasley. Yeah,
Beasley's been bad.
Yes.
I mean, that's the problem. How many minutes would you give Noel, though? Wouldn't you give him around 30 if both of them are out?
I mean, I assume he would start at that point. I don't think that I would go any less than 30.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And at 30 at 4K, I mean, he's a fantasy point per minute guy. Like, he's not even bad. Like, he's an actual decent DFS player. If he's playing 30 minutes at 4K, he's one of the top 5 plays on the day across both sites.
Yeah, we have some good bets on the other side of this one, too, over at Odd Shopper. I like some of these. You look at the expected win rates on a few of these Phoenix Suns ones as well. A lot of under bets for sure, but some other good ones as well. Like, check it out for yourself, man. We've got Cameron Johnson projected over 2.5 threes at 3.5, 69% expected win rate on this one. And Josh, did you know Louisiana just opened up sports betting? I
certainly didn't.
Yeah. Louisiana's open. New York is open. All of them are open. And I very simply use the links in the description because these sites just are vying for everybody's business right now because sports betting's about to explode. I see you nodding your head over there.
Oh yeah, that's true. I don't have it yet, so I can't wait.
I know. Like you'll see, no joke though, you're going to get $1,500 deposit bonuses. You're going to get like $1,000 free bets and stuff. It's just the way it goes when you sign up for the first time.
I wonder who I'm going to give my referral money to.
What's that? Yeah, right.
I wonder who I'll give the referral money to. It's going to be somebody's going to want it. I'm going to up the bidding here.
I mean, it'd be nice to go to us.
Sure. But
I mean,
look, maybe we all sign up around each other and we give each other the referral money. Just kidding, Tom. I'm in for the Awesemo links. I swear.
It does help us too. I mean, it helps us. It helps you because you're getting these bonuses. But it's a win-win. It's a quid pro quo around here. $200 you can win if any team scores a touchdown this week in the conference games. That's at BetMGM. You've got $1,000 risk-free bet with BetMGM, $1,500 deposit match bonus with Caesars. This is Louisiana, New York. Take advantage of it. Use those links and just put yourself in a good spot. We also have an article by Alex on how to utilize your free bets and that's huge. Don't just do something stupid. There's a way to use those free bets that can put you in an ideal spot. So Louisiana, New York, welcome. All right, Josh, where else are you going, Minnesota? I know we're running a couple minutes over, but it's 11 games and it's you and me.
Well, yeah, I hear you. Well, no, I don't really think we're going.
I wasn't flattering us. I was saying we usually just go late.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's Noel is the priority. If Beverly happens to be out, he'll just look like a better value play. If Beverly and Russell are out, you just have to play Jalen Noel at that point. He becomes the best option from Minnesota. Towns and Edwards get incrementally better. Vanderbilt on DraftKings, where he's 5,300, gets a bit better. I actually think he's a little underrepresented already, even if everybody's in, because he's got the power forward eligibility. It just opens him up a little bit more. Malik Beasley could become a little bit more interesting if you're getting him up to like 24, 26 minutes, but he's like a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy at this point. He just sucks. There's not much there for Minnesota for me, oddly enough. You really need Beverly and Russell to both be out to unlock the full potential of Noel, and to a lesser extent, Taurean Prince.
What about with Phoenix, where you've got no DeAndre Ayton, you got no Jay Crowder again, no JaVale McGee? That's pretty big. Biyombo's playing pretty well. AD
and LeBron are both out.
Oh, here we go. Here comes the news, baby. Let's go. Avery Bradley's in. Westbrook's in.
All right. So on FanDuel, at the very least, play a ton of Westbrook. I assume it's the same case on the DraftKings side. But Russ is like 78. He's 7,800 or something on FanDuel.
That's crazy.
You just do that one all
86
day.
On DraftKings.
Let me finish off Phoenix quick here. So Cam Johnson's like 50% owned. He's very clearly the best option in this mid-tier today. Do I want 50%? Maybe not, but he's like one of the first things you're putting into a cash lineup. I think Devin Booker and Chris Paul both look really good across both sites. They've been playing 36 minutes a game now that all these guys are out. No Ayton, no Crowder, no Payne, no somebody else that I'm missing right off the top of my head. So go to Booker, go to Paul, obviously go to Cam Johnson. If you get shares of Mikal Bridges, or if you get shares of $5,800 Bismack Biyombo on DraftKings, not a problem with it at all. Cam Johnson is the clear actual best piece here, a true top 5 talent across FanDuel and DraftKings for today. And then Booker and Paul, I really do like them in the mid-8s, more than I've talked about most guys in the 8s today.
A lot of people saying Westbrook's been ass and they're not playing him.
Good. Lose your money.
Remember, Westbrook, when there's nobody else out there against one of the worst defenses, fast-paced teams in the league, let your biases go for a day. Let them go.
I have him showing up in the optimal lineup on FanDuel 8% of the time with everybody in.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah.
He's still a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy when everybody plays.
Yep. And now you've got Davis and LeBron and Malik Monk out. Like,
I assume I have like 70% Russell Westbrook today.
Probably.
Or more on FanDuel.
The only worry is, can any of these assists actually be converted into buckets? But you can hate him all you want, but this is a great spot. All right, Josh, just wrap it up. I don't think this will take long. Milwaukee, New York Knicks, and then we'll flip the page. You got Terry Gundacker coming up next, taking you up to lock on the Live Before Lock show.
Don't play anybody from the New York Knicks unless you're playing on FanDuel, and it's RJ Barrett at 6,400. Maybe a share of Randall. You should not be rostering a single New York Knick on the DraftKings site. On the Milwaukee side, as this value opens up, I think Giannis starts to look a little bit more interesting. He's probably my preferred like true pay up option today, depending on like where you land on Booker at 9,900. But I like Giannis more than I like Jokic. I think the salary is just easier to get to. After that, if you want to take your shots on $6,300 Portis on FanDuel, where he's got power forward center, I think that looks good. I have him in the optimal 15% of the time, and he's only owned 8%. So Bobby Portis on FanDuel, one of my preferred leverage plays. I actually think Drew Holiday for 7,400 on DraftKings is getting slept on big time. If he happens to actually be 1% owned, I think he's another fantastic leverage play. But this game is gross at 10 o'clock.
All right. We'll close it with this. Another free super chat from a DJ DFS member for 3 months. Josh, you do look beautiful. Wow, how about all this, Josh? People loving on you. Green Gang, member for 8 months, free super chat. Yo, this is lit. Let's get this bag tonight. Yes, sir. Let's make it happen. And the last one here, Crooked Samaritan. If Westbrook, Brown, and AD are out, would you set a rule to how many Lakers you get to? Well, Westbrook's in. So,
yeah. And no, you don't need to. I mean, you're going to want to set rules to not overlap with too much of the shit for the rest of the Lakers. Like, you don't want to get a lineup of Avery Bradley, Stanley Johnson, Carmelo Anthony, and Talen Horton Tucker. Like, it's going to look pretty gross. So I don't have time to think through these right now. We got to kick this one over to the Live Before Lock crew. But for now, I wouldn't be trying to limit the total of them at this point in time. You do just want to think about who's going to be in the closing lineup for the Lakers.
Terry and Gundacker, sorry for running late, fellas. We did the best we could. They're coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman, me at Lafayette_D. Shout out to Tyler Zander for producing the show. And I guess one more time, Josh, 581 likes, maybe 700 by the time we start Live Before Lock.
Hit that bad boy. Hit those likes. Run it up.
Hit that. I know there's 119 of you out there. Peace.
Later.
What is happening, Awesemo NBA DFS fans? Terry McBride here. Welcome to the Live Before Lock show for a crazy Friday night. Got Gundacker here to break down the whole slate. We're going to go position by position. We're going to go through all the news that's important. Gun, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Happy Friday. It is chaotic, but I tell you what, like we just said, the news that I was waiting on to really make my moves just broke. So at least now my lineups could look a little closer to the final piece that I'll probably have in an hour. But then again, it's NBA. Who actually knows?
Yeah, we got I think that was the one piece of big news that it was the known unknown, right? The piece that we all kind of knew that we were waiting on, and we just were waiting to see which way it broke. But I'm sure we're going to get a few more pieces. We've got the Minnesota news that we're waiting on. We've got, a couple significant question marks still out there. Kelly Oubre from the Hornets, still a question mark on this slate. A couple guys, a couple guys from the Hawks look like they're question marks. So any other major pieces that you're waiting on? Is it the New Orleans news? Anything from the Houston game? Where else are you looking now that we've got that Lakers news?
So I'd love to have the D'Angelo Russell, Patrick Beverly leans. D-Russ got hurt in the third quarter last night, didn't finish. Patrick Beverly's been out a game or two. So I would get to a little bit more Edwards and Cat. So that's kind of the usage spots that I'm waiting on. But nothing super significant that I was hanging on. I was really more so hanging on the Lakers news for value, if nothing else. There's going to be a ton. Hornets are just the honey hole for everything, pace, defense, and there's a lot of underpriced Lakers now considering AD and LeBron James being out.
Yeah, waiting to see what that does to my crunch. I'm expecting to get a whole ton of Russ Westbrook and then a lot of the ancillary pieces from both sides of that game. I was getting to a lot of LaMelo Ball earlier in the day on the other side of that game. I don't expect that to change. A lot of Cody Martin in that game. So we'll see what comes up as we get these updates in. They're just starting to roll in after that news. Why don't you walk us through, just to get us started before we dive in and start through the position by position, walk us through what you're seeing on that Lakers squad now that we know LeBron and AD are both going to be out.
Yeah, so we also knew that Malik Monk was going to be out, so probably their best scoring options are going to have to do without. So I think next man up opportunity here for Taylor Horton Tucker. Obviously, Russell Westbrook maybe gets to be a little bit more vintage-like, where he just runs and guns. And then in that front court, I'm starting to think Dwight Howard might enter the chat. Right, he might have a role here at 3,100, and if he gets a shot at 25 minutes, he might have a real chance at, slate breaking potential at, 10, 15x this 3.1K price point on DraftKings. So might get behind him. Obviously, Carmelo is going to look all right. I don't want to get too much of the guys that feel a little bit more scoring dependent than not. But each guy in a vacuum looking pretty solid. I think THT, Melo, and even Austin Reeves to an extent could make the value pool here. And then Westbrook, all things considered, should probably be 10 to 11K in this matchup without LeBron and AD. So it's going to come down to how many Lakers is too many Lakers and how much of them. We're waiting on that ownership update to start making some leverage-based decisions. But those are the names that are sticking out to me. I think Dwight Howard's the most interesting talking point. And I don't know if you have new numbers on him, but seems like the minutes should be there for him, right?
Yeah, I would think that that's going to lead to an uptick in minutes. And we're talking about a guy 1.06 fantasy points per minute for the year, only 0.75 over the last 3 games and 11 and a half minutes a game. There's not really much on the bone there on a normal night. But if we expect him to tick up, we had him at 10.7 minutes. I haven't updated anything in the last couple of minutes. I would expect that's going to be up over 20, and at 3,700 on FanDuel and 3,100 more importantly on DK. That starts to become interesting when you talk about that kind of production at that kind of a price. I think probably less so on FanDuel, where it just becomes kind of an opportunity cost with some of the other valuable centers on the board. But on DK, where you can play 2 of them, I think that probably is going to stand out. So we'll get that update through in the next couple of minutes, guys. Clean up a little business off the top here before we start rolling in position by position. If you guys haven't hit the like and the subscribe button down there, you guys know that helps us out. So do that. Hit the little thumbs up. Make sure you get the subscribe so you're getting all the alerts when our shows go live. You know we've got all kinds of stuff throughout every single day, so you don't want to miss a minute of it. Subscribing is a pretty easy way to get that done. We've got free premium tools and data up on the site. Last couple minutes to take advantage of some of that. We've got NBA player rankings and NHL top stacks. If you're an NHL player, that's the most important tool on the site, in my opinion. And you've seen in some of those Hall of Fame clips how well our NHL people are going lately. So jump in there, check those out. We're brought to you by Yahoo today. We're going to be sticking around half an hour after the FanDuel and DK slates lock, talking up to the Yahoo slate lock at 7:30. So we'll go into some of the extra plays over there, but give them a check, guys. If you're not playing on Yahoo, you're missing out. They've got some great tournaments, constantly running some overlay, constantly dropping in management-free contests. We'll get into a little bit more about them later on, but strongly encourage everybody to check them out, and we'll dive through their slate in a little bit. And let me grab some updates off the site here. We should have enough time gone by to get the boom bust updates off the site. Got you in a position where you can maybe talk us through your favorite guard plays off the top here for a minute?
Yeah, so I was already set up to roll out a decent chunk of LaMelo Ball. Still waiting for definitive Kelly Oubre situation, but I think LaMelo versus Westbrook becomes a very cheap two guard set to put in that lineup and just watch them run at each other. So those were two of my higher owned decent price guys. Based on some other news that may drop, you might open up, some of the guards, even in the same game, like James Bouknight could start popping a little bit more if we took away those Oubre minutes and shot attempts. So, but I think LaMelo Ball and Russell Westbrook have a real shot to be my top two owned point guards on this slate. And then past that, I believe in Westbrook's price so much that I'm probably going to end up with a lot less of the rest of the player pool that I had queued up. But obviously, I would want to sell out for some raw points here, especially if I start taking advantage of some of this maybe front court value, maybe a couple of the Dwight Howard pivots turn into a little bit more DeJounte Murray, go ultra three guard sets, stuff like that. But I think LaMelo and Westbrook are going to be my two favorites tonight.
I agree. I'm still getting to a ton of LaMelo in this crunch that I just kicked off here, just judging by the first handful of lineups here. And in this latest update, he is still floating up near the top by optimal lineup rate across all positions on DraftKings. Similar story on FanDuel, so I'll be getting a ton of him. And then it looks like if we're sorting by the optimal lineup appearance rate on the DraftKings slate here, unless this hasn't updated for that latest news, which will figure that out in the next couple of minutes here. But just looking at it, we do have some value plays like Anthony Simons popping up a little bit, although he's 6,800, more of a mid-range kind of a guy. And for only 500 more on DK, you get to CJ McCollum at 7,300. They're coming up like right next to each other in terms of optimal lineup rate, 15.2% for Simons and 14.9% for CJ McCollum, with McCollum coming up slightly more owned, slightly more negative leverage, but both negatively leveraged. Do you have a preference between those two guards from Portland, knowing in that situation they're both going to see a lot of minutes, a lot of usage and opportunity there?
My seesaw has been tilted more towards the McCollum side itself, but it's the Houston Rockets, so I wouldn't talk you off of Simons if you preferred him 1-to-1 just for a little extra ownership. But the lean is the slight usage tick to McCollum and the slight PPM rate going to McCollum. But against the Rockets with that implied total, I would never talk you off of Simons in this spot.
Yeah, definitely a spot where I'm just kind of interested in it on all sides. I agree with you. I'm on the CJ McCollum train a little bit more. Just maybe it's a little bias on my part, just a little bit more of a cachet of built up performance for me. So I was getting to him a little bit, and probably try and get over the field on him, I think, depending on how this breaks down in the next couple of updates. From the value tier at guard, if we're looking around on value guards, and the way the slate was breaking down earlier in the day, it looked like we were going to be more spending up at some of these guard spots and then getting to some value centers and some value front court guys. And you just mentioned that might still be the approach. How are you seeing it in terms of value guards? Are there any guys like a Cody Martin, somebody like that you might want to get to on this slate in terms of the lower price tiers who can open up some things for you?
Yeah, Cody Martin would definitely pop. Bouknight, like I said, if we end up with Oubre being out, I don't mind getting a little dab at him. Maybe Austin Reeves has a real shot. Taylor Horton Tucker, I think is he guard eligible on DK? No, he's only small forward. Maybe some Austin Reeves in the mix. But I think guard is pretty stacked today. So I end up having a lot of the high end guys, DeJounte's, Devin Booker's, LaMelo, Westbrook. They're eating up a whole lot of high floor, high ceiling ratio. So, and then also, Cade Cunningham in the middle as well. So I'm not getting too cute in the guard spot. I think a lot of the value I'm leaning on is going to be out of my my forward spot and maybe here and there a center spot. But I definitely wouldn't not have no Austin Reeves. I'll have some of the Austin Reeves and the Cody Martin side. Is he still there?
You me? Yeah, I'm still here. I was trying to get my microphone. I'm getting instructions from producer Tyler to get my microphone working. Okay. Apparently I went off video, so
I didn't know if I needed to kill time or not. I was like
yeah, no, I was here the whole time and I was listening to what you were saying, but I'm also unplugging stuff and I guess that knocked my camera offline here. But now I'm all big too in the window on YouTube. This is fun. I'm moving around. Cool. Nothing like getting my face as big as possible in the window. Let's take a quick break here, see if we've got any super chats or anything like that coming in. Doesn't look like no crazy questions in the chat. So yeah, we'll move on through the producer cam. Yeah, I agree, Mac. My pop filter sucks. Now I think it's something with the connection on this mic, but it's the same one I always use, and we don't usually have this problem. So not really sure what that's all about. But I was just getting some updates into the spreadsheet again here. We've been cranking out updates fast and furious over the last few minutes. Another guy I wanted to bring up, a guy I've gotten to a lot throughout the season, and it looks like kind of come down slightly from an extreme high that he had gotten to in price, is DeJounte Murray from the Spurs. 9,900 point guard and shooting guard on FanDuel, coming up 16.4% optimal, but negatively leveraged. 10K at point guard only on DK. Slight negative leverage, 13.7% optimal, like our fifth or sixth guy on the optimal lineup board. Are you getting any Murray? Are you trying to get to any of the Spurs in that Chicago Spurs game?
Yeah. So, 30 minutes ago, I had a hanker for about 20% of Murray. I don't have an updated crunch based on this Lakers news, but I think Russell Westbrook is going to push him down a little bit in my personal crunch. If I end up with 10%, I'll feel a little bit lucky. Like I said, I'm pretty bullish on Westbrook versus LaMelo, and it looks like when it comes to Westbrook, I'm going to have to make a stake to get some leverage. So if I get to 70 to 80% Westbrook, just so I can say I have some leverage, it's going to come at the expense of DeJounte. But I definitely want some DeJounte, 230 total. He's going to have a big hand in just about everything, triple-double threat, but he's priced appropriately so that if median outcome is 50 fantasy points, it's really what you need. And if I can get that cheaper from Westbrook, from LaMelo, it just makes more sense to go that route. So I'll have him in the pool. I was at 20, but I think I'll probably dip below 10 after making my Westbrook adjustments.
Where do you expect to come down? If you're building 150 lineups, where do you expect to come down on overall Russ Westbrook ownership? Are you going, are we talking like full lock territory? Are we talking like 70%? I know Josh was saying around 70% on the previous show. I feel like I'm probably going to be in that territory. Where are you coming down on that?
Same. 70 to 80% is probably where I want to live at tonight. I know that's kind of a bullish thing, a big slate to have 80% of an 8-9K guy, but man, it just makes too much sense here. And sometimes you just gotta let logic take control of the wheel here. He's just way too underpriced, right? We were paying essentially 13K for this spot, in a situation without AD, without LeBron, and the Hornets being what they are this year, fast-paced, porous defense. The only pushback I would have that maybe would make me feel like a fool later and prevent me from hitting that lock button is the Hornets offensive efficiency so doggone good that the Lakers are live to get smoked, right? They didn't, AD had such a good game last night and they still waved the white flag early. So the Lakers would not be immune to getting laughed out the gym here. And then maybe, that 38 or 42 from Westbrook at 50% ownership by the field really would not be that lucrative. So I guess we'll wrestle with that. But right now I'm loading up on Westbrook. So I would expect between 70 and 80%.
Yeah, and now we're getting pieces of the boom bust is starting to update on the back end here. So we've got Russ projected on DK over 50 DraftKings points now, coming up 50.23% boom score probability, 35.2% optimal. 21.5% projected ownership feels like that maybe hasn't caught up completely yet. That would leave him at a 13.7 leverage score, which would be fantastic for that option, and even better on FanDuel at a cheaper price. So that's somebody definitely that I just want to be completely overweight to the field on if I can get there. And we'll see where the field settles in. I expect that it's going to catch up pretty quickly and settle into like that 40-50 range. If I'm at 70 on that 40 or 50, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Even if it goes wrong, it's one of those plays that you're making the right play on the front end, regardless of how the results come out. So let's take a quick look at.
Go
ahead.
We got some news bombs.
What do we got?
All right. So Jimmy Butler's warming up with the intention to play. Kevin Porter Jr. has entered health and safety. So big boost to Green, Christopher, Eric Gordon there. Brandon Ingram and Jonas Valanciunas are ruled out. So Jackson Hayes and Loughran and Gomez have entered the chat. Christian Wood, Josh Christopher are still GTDs, and Josh Hart is the GTD. So we might get some more value here. And center just got really interesting with options at really every price point.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a change up here. I don't know why I thought I'd be able to get lineups done for this while hosting this show with all this chaos in 11 games. Let's see. Yeah, everything just came down off the boom bust again in the last minute or so. So we'll get that thing updated. We haven't gotten to the forward and center spot. We've got plenty of time to get there, though. So let's do a quick little piece of business here. We'll talk about Louisiana and New York betting. If you live in those states, congratulations. Betting is legal in your state now. Pretty sweet. So welcome sports betting to your state with some fantastic bonus offers we've got available here at Awesemo. If you check out the site, you pretty much can't miss this stuff, guys. We're cranking out a lot of content for all these states as they go live. Alex is writing features on how to maximize your betting opportunities, how to maximize your deposit bonuses, and all these different things that these sites are throwing at us. If you click on either link that's pinned down in the live YouTube chat, or over here, I guess, in the live YouTube chat, maybe it's over there. I don't know which way to point. You browse through all of our offers, including an offer that has bet $10, win $200 if any team scores a touchdown in either one of the conference championship games. That's kind of a no-brainer, and that's what we're calling these no-brainer offers. That one's on BetMGM. You win a free NBA jersey if you bet $100 with Caesars Sportsbook. Just put in $100, make a $100 bet. Standard bet. You could win, you could lose, but at least you're getting a free NBA jersey out of it. Pretty slick. We can also take advantage of a $1,000 risk-free bet with BetMGM and up to a $1,500 match deposit bonus with Caesars in both both Louisiana and New York. Those offers are good to go, too good to pass up, guys. So click that pin link, start betting, check out all the content on the site. Stop guessing, start winning. Gun, let's jump over and talk about some forwards. I hope I gave you a little bit of time there to maybe get some updates in, maybe kick off a new crunch. I'm hoping to do that in the next few minutes here, or I'm just going to have to withdraw all these entries. But talk to me about forward. What's changed in the last few minutes? What are you still looking at from earlier targets? Who are your favorite forwards on this one?
Man. So the Ingram being out, like if Josh Hart played, Josh Hart's probably too cheap on both sides. I think I usually start at 30 fantasy points with his projection. We get a couple more implied peripherals, maybe a couple more buckets here in the absence of Brandon Ingram. Problem is, he's not for sure. He's questionable. So I don't know if I'm forcing the issue just yet on the Pelicans situation. What we do know is that Hernan Gomez will have an opportunity to be the beast that he is. He is still appropriately priced, I guess, 5-1 on DraftKings. I don't feel like I'm getting a ton of leeway. Obviously, 40 is still there, but 30 against Jokic wouldn't stun me either. So I don't know that I'm gonna run out of my way to make it a priority. But on FanDuel, if you remember that Pelicans and Sixers situation the other night, the alluring part about Hernan Gomez was that he was power forward eligible, as was Jackson Hayes. So if that's the situation again today, and looking at, yes, he is power forward eligible. I was in sore need of some power forwards in my player pool earlier. I was getting to some funky names. So I think that will help me beef up some floor in my power forward spot. So I do like adding Hernan Gomez to the forward spot where you can get him. Obviously, the two sites differ in that category. And then in the midst of it, if you're looking for a couple pay up options, it looks like now that Jimmy Butler intends to play, he would be somebody that could flirt with a triple double. I usually drive a wedge between Tatum and Brown. Both guys are in a good spot. Brown's a little bit cheaper on DraftKings to get you one of those 50 fantasy point shots. I usually never have Tatum and Brown in the same lineup on a big slate, just because I feel like their ceilings kind of come at each other's expense. But maybe I get to some of those guys in the forward spot. And then, like we said, if we end up with no Patrick Beverley and no D'Angelo Russell, I'm fine with maybe late swapping into some Anthony Edwards. Certainly has 50 to 60 fantasy point upside against a faster pace Suns team that, although good defensively, their pace kind of offsets some of those implied defensive metrics, and they're also without a couple of their top hands, DeAndre Ayton and Jay Crowder. So I wouldn't mind getting to some Edwards in that spot in the pay up, but I think that's where I'm at on the forward spot.
That's an interesting option that I hadn't really considered that strongly, from like the mid-rangey kind of, not cheapish mid-range, but like, more expensive end of the mid-range at 8,000 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DK, shooting guard and small forward eligible. He's coming out with positive leverage. He's not owned like at all, low single-digit ownership. So it's just a kind of low-owned star-ish caliber dart throw. I don't mind that. One name from the star level that I noticed wasn't really in there very prominently was Giannis. At 11,000, power forward, small forward eligible on FanDuel, 11,800 on DK, power forward and center eligible. Are you getting to any Giannis? I'm finding it difficult to get to him in a lot of lineups here.
Yeah, so I currently don't. I think I have a pinch of him on the back end on FanDuel. But his price point is usually a down payment on Jokic, if not a little bit more. And in his particular matchup against the Knicks bring down some implied possessions, run such a slow pace, and I don't have much beef on that total. So I end up just being able to get to Jokic over Giannis more often than not. But maybe you're a fan of late night hammers with 70 fantasy point potential. It makes a lot of sense, but no, I'm currently not there. Also, Kelly Oubre is out, so we could add Book Knight and beef up Cody Martin a little bit more, and then maybe elongate the minutes and shot attempts on Rozier, and maybe LaMelo gets a small benefit from that.
Yep, absolutely. And just triggering this last crunch, I don't even know if that's accounted for. And Cody Martin's already coming up like 50% of the time in this thing. But the guys who are really interesting to me, and it's going back to that Lakers squad now that we've got a little bit more info built in. I'm getting to Russ Westbrook in this crunch, just in the pure crunch, over 75% of the time. And then the guy I'm getting to even more is Talen Horton-Tucker in an uncapped crunch. He's coming up 95% of the time with randomness on. So getting to a massive amount of him. And he's our leader on both sites by optimal lineup appearance rate, 35.3% optimal on the FanDuel slate, 42.1% optimal on DK at 3,600 at the small forward spot. Are you just getting a massive shares of THT here, or is he somebody that you're looking to maybe pivot off of at 0.78 fantasy points per minute?
I think, anytime someone's less than a fantasy point per minute, you get skittish, but then you think about 38 minutes potentially coming his way. And then a lot of those fantasy point per minute is sharing the court with LeBron and AD. And that's just usage that we just don't ever have opportunities like this to really try and quantify the per minute metric with justice. I think Talen Horton-Tucker has a real chance to, if not lead the team in shot attempts, be top 3. So he has a real shot to, put a 10x on any price tag that he has today. Obviously, his shooting efficiency has not been the best, but like we said, a lot of times the Hornets can make you forget that. And 3,600 for the opportunity to perform today is probably too cheap. And it looks like our ownership is reflecting that too. So it is consistent with the field.
Yeah, massive ownership shares now on Horton-Tucker, on Carmelo Anthony, on Russ Westbrook as well, I'm sure, in here. So getting a lot of ownership on these different guys. I say I'm sure because I have it sorted to the forward position. Another guy coming up kind of from the lower mid-range, let's call it, 5,000 on FanDuel. It's a small forward spot, 4,700 on DK, small forward and power forward eligible. He still looks very important, but I think maybe he was more important earlier in the day and is slipping a little bit with a lot of this value in this Lakers news and everything. But what do you think of Cameron Johnson on the Suns here? Are you still getting to him?
I again, before the Lakers news, I had a lot of Cameron Johnson queued up, but now Carmelo's entered the chat, right? He's another guy. I talked about THT possibly being top 3 in shot attempts. I would almost bet that Carmelo is top 3 in shot attempts if he's going to play a decent chunk of minutes here. So LaMelo at least offsets some of that Cameron Johnson, or Carmelo offsets some of that Cameron Johnson. But yeah, I did have intentions to get to a decent chunk of Cameron Johnson here, but I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Carmelo side just because the Hornets have just been gospel for me to attack all year.
Yeah, and look, we all know that Carmelo has never seen a shot that he doesn't like. So for 5,200 at small forward and power forward, 4,400 on DK at power forward. At that price on DK, I mean, he's kind of a must in lineup builds, just given the potential volume. That's just way too cheap for what he can do on the court, even in this diminished form of Carmelo Anthony. Anybody else that you're getting to in terms of forwards? We've got DeMar at 9,000, shooting guard, small forward on FanDuel, 8,500 at power forward on DK. We've got Miles Bridges, 7,700 on FanDuel, 76 on DK with multi-position, and kind of a little bit more to do maybe in that offense now. And we've seen him pop for major value on some of these slates. Any of those guys from like that upper mid-range that you're able to pay up to now that maybe you weren't getting so much of earlier in the day?
Man, upper mid range. No. But Jimmy Butler became more of a thought with him, warming up with the intention to play just because he has a triple double potential. But I didn't really see myself too enamored with the 6 to 8Ks. It was really the position I was hoping to punt all day. And I am kind of thankful that we have this information from the Lakers to make this happen. And then, the Pelicans helping us out just a little bit more, but not much in the upper mids.
Yeah, nothing like, I'm not getting very much like Julius Randle outside of a couple of here and there shares. Same with like Domantas Sabonis. Some of these guys that we typically do see float into the top range I'm just not really getting. A lot of this is filling out from the mid-range and then, getting a lot of that Lakers value in here. And the lineups are just kind of coming together in a different way today. So it's an interesting slate. Anything else to call out from the forward spot before we move into a quick Yahoo read here?
Yeah, the Stanley Johnson, right? Like he's not fun. We've seen him get starter minutes for Detroit in the past, but lately he's been playing with pep and a step, and they really like him. They give him a contract here. Somebody that would probably only play 25 minutes in this split, but you take out the AD, like it wouldn't stun me if Stanley Johnson exceeded 30 minutes, and would he be right in front of our face later while we're holding on to Melo and THT, and Stanley Johnson has 8 rebounds and some defensive peripherals on 10 points. I think that's possible. So maybe I meditate on what to do with Stanley Johnson. He's pretty cheap at the forward spot.
I don't mind that at all. He was coming up a little bit for me on the FanDuel slate. It looks like around 15% in this crunch right now. And then if we're just looking at the board, the boom bust tool, 9.9% owned on 9.9% optimal on DK, 9.8 FanDuel. What I don't love about Stanley right now is the negative leverage that we're showing. Even for a value play, like we talk a lot about like these value plays, they're fundamental, right? They're building blocks for construction. You can get to them at heavy ownership, negative leverage. And I do think that's the case based on 3,600 price on FanDuel, 34 on DK. But with a lot of other value pieces, it does get a little concerning when you see negative 18 leverage on one site, negative 10 on the other. Is it at all concerning for you? Just kind of riding with that and considering it good chalk there?
Nah, it's just it's definitely negative leverage. So I wouldn't try to force myself to match or beat or undercut the field. Like I would just like put him in the pool. If he falls, he falls. And I'm not going to lose sleep over Stanley Johnson. I definitely don't want to force myself to get over the field in Stanley Johnson. I would say we've got another bit of news. Domantas Sabonis expect to play. So on a forward spot where we were skittish on paying up, I don't know that he would be on any type of limit, but he's one of those 10K guys that will probably not get any ownership against a Thunder front court that has been pretty attackable all year if he gets full run.
Yeah, we had him coming up. We had him projected out at 33 minutes. So we had him basically full projection. Nice 40.3 FanDuel projection, 42.6 DK median projection. But at that price, at the 10-4 on DK especially, he's only coming up 1.8% optimal with a 40-plus fantasy point projection. So he was just not really a relevant piece of the slate in terms of our probability metrics. But to your point, 0.1% ownership on a guy like Domantas Sabonis. I mean, that's a guy who can definitely bend a slate on any given night without too much, surprise. So maybe that's a spot. Yeah. Even if you get to 5-10% ownership on him, you're way out beyond the field. And if he happens to get there, now you're sitting pretty, at least in one of those spots. Any love for any of these other guys in like that mid-ish range, like a Jaren Jackson, 6,700 on DK or Bojan, anybody like that?
Bojan's intriguing, but Memphis, outside of John Morant, there's a team I really don't have an attackable spot for him. And then Jaren Jackson, I guess 6,700. He definitely has block potential. I don't know how many I don't think I don't have much Jaren Jackson from this far out. And this game is probably a little bit slower expectation and pace. And a lot of his spike games are coming against faster pace, higher implied scoring games. I don't know if I expect him to squeeze out a true optimal ceiling today, an often amount of time to forego some of the other value here. So I don't have Jaren Jackson. I definitely don't have any Jackson on FanDuel. If he fell into some DraftKings, I wouldn't go out of my way to get him out of the picture, but I don't have front end interest right now.
Yeah, it's not somebody who's really coming up for me. It's a strange board today. I mean, we've got a few guys at the extreme top end, and then we've got a nice wide plateau of just a lot of mix and match options, particularly through the forward spot where a lot of these guys 10, 11, 9, 8% optimals just kind of coming up the same. So getting to a broad mix and match of some of these options seems like a good approach here. So let's move on from the forward spot. Got to clean up a little bit of business, trailing behind again on that. We've partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NBA season, you guys. I'm sure you've heard about this at this point, but it remains a killer offer. You get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum if you're a new user to Yahoo. So you have to be a brand new user at Yahoo. Go over there, create an account. Sign up for an account via the link that's down there in the chat or in the comments. You make a deposit for the first time and you play a paid entry. That has to play and clear. And then the next day, they're going to trigger the automatic process that'll send your details over to our system, which will then send out an automated email. If you don't get that email from us, sometimes it goes a little haywire in the process. We're happy to help you out. Shoot us an email over at the customer support department, support@awesemo.com. We'll get you set up with your promo code and get you up and running. It's not necessarily immediate. We do ask a little bit of patience as we get to the tickets, guys. There's a lot going on, but we really appreciate you guys jumping on this. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit if you click the link in the video description below, which can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's NBA $60,000 bowler and the NFL $500,000 Sunday bowler with $100,000 going to first. So $100K Yahoo contest this weekend for NFL. Not too shabby, and it's probably going to overlay. Not saying it's definitely gonna, but they've been doing that a lot lately. So get over there and check it out. You're missing out if you're not playing on Yahoo. Make sure you use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big, guys. Go check them out. Gun. Let's move over to the center spot. I am hoping and praying that this crunch finishes in time for me to run a sim and grab some lineups here. Talk to us. We had some emergent value during the show. We had some interesting value and mid-range kind of plays earlier in the show. I was getting to a lot of Hassan Whiteside earlier in the day. I have no idea how much of them I'm getting to now. Where are you on the center spot?
So I'm also trying to roll out a new crunch because I'm going from 0 Dwight Howard, and so now putting him in the pool here. He's going to project extremely well for his price point on both sides, and maybe compensate for some other positions where I can overpay for a little bit of floor here. Anytime Nikola Jokic is on the slate, I want access to him. So I'm going to try to walk in the battle with like no less than 20-25%. Maybe that'll give me a little bit of leverage. I also had a ton of Yusuf Nurkic queued up. My projection for him, he was like at a 1.3, 1.4 fantasy point per minute with McCollum, with Simons. And then, of course, it being the Houston Rockets was just in a massive spot to pop. But now he's becoming a little bit more. Does AK bring me back, a 40 that's rather insignificant at the end of the night with some of this value? Mentioned Hernan Gomez, mentioned Dwight Howard, and then Cat. I also wanted some late swap opportunities to get to Cat later if D Russ ended up being out, just to tilt some of his high usage exposure later in the evening. But I do think that in the interest of value, the optimizer with the robot brain, it's going to give me more Dwight Howard and a little bit more Biyombo and some of these value guys with more access to the high projected guards, the Westbrooks, the DeJountes, the LaMelo. So right now, yeah, I'm getting 40% Dwight Howard.
Well, that's comfy. Everybody wanted to be there when the day started. But I mean, we were talking about it before when it first broke, right? He was at 10 minutes earlier. His minutes projection has doubled. His minutes projection's over 20 now. He costs 3,700 on FanDuel. He costs 31 on DK. He's now our second most frequently optimal DraftKings center at 11.3%. He's owned double that, basically more than double that, negative 13.2 leverage. But that's one of those plays that, to me, that's just a foundational piece over there now. Now it just makes total sense. Build that in. It helps you pay for those guards like you talked about, or other decisions at other positions, and you gain so much upside. And you can play him alongside. If you want to spend up to Nikola Jokic on this slate on DK, you can do that with him. At 12.6, now Joker's in play, given the value that's come out. 8.7% optimal in the last update. On FanDuel at 11.3, he's 17.6% optimal. He wasn't really in play for me earlier in the day, but now I think I'm going to try and get there. Barely negatively leveraged, efficient ownership, still a 37% boom score probability at 11.3 on FanDuel, 25% on DK. Is Joker in your plans tonight? Are you trying to get to him now that we've got some value to work with?
Yeah, so I mean, Jokic, I don't know many projection models that wouldn't have Jokic as the number one player on the slate. So if undeniable value on an 11-game slate gets you access to the highest raw point scorer on the slate, you would be weird to not want some of that. So like I said, I think I'm gonna aim for 25% and hope I'm coming in a little bit above the field.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I want to be maybe even a little bit further than that. We'll see where I come down in this crunch that I'm trying to export now. Let's see who else we have on the board here. PJ Washington is kind of interesting. I'm not sure if you mentioned him as you were just running through those options, but 4,800 in that Lakers and Charlotte game that we're talking about quite a bit on this show. Power forward and center eligible, 5,000 same position eligibility on the DK slate. Are you getting to PJ? He was coming up a lot for me earlier in the day. Not really sure where I'm getting to him now.
I didn't have any earlier, but I like the thought of him. Like the field could just like look at his last two games and not put substance to what happened, an ejection and 5 fouls in 18 minutes. the situation would probably call for more PJ Washington today, or any game without Gordon Hayward and some of these guys that they're missing. He just has to keep his hands to himself and not get ejected. So if you had 25 to 32 minutes as an expectation for PJ, it would project pretty decently. I'm getting right on the nose what I need. I'm getting about a 30 fantasy point projection at 5K. So probably, be in the bottom of the pool. If it falls, it falls. But he wasn't a priority, and I don't think I have anything significant of him, right? I definitely don't have any on DraftKings right now.
Okay. Yeah. And I think price wise and positioning, he was coming up a little bit more on the FanDuel slate as I was running crunches earlier in the day. So it might just be a FanDuel to DK thing. I am stuck on my sim here trying to update. So that's why I'm not talking in specifics about that spot, but we'll get back there in just a sec. Guys, hit the thumbs up there. Give us a little bit of love. Send us some super chats. We did have a super chat to clean up. Crooked Samaritan sent us $2. Wants to know, with no site given, are you okay with getting to THT and Melo in the same lineup? Going back to that Lakers team one more time.
Yeah, I don't think they're cheap enough to where I don't think they negatively correlate too much. We're giving the Lakers 110 points or something like that. If we're giving over 100 points and we expect those guys to be both top 3 in shot attempts, I think they're priced where you can still get away with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. And yeah, I think just based on the overall value of those guys, it just makes sense to get them. And they're probably coming up quite a bit in the same lineup there. Let's see. Talk us through. We've talked a little bit about the Hernangomez situation there and the Valanciunas situation. Talk us through that one just real quick one more time, because people were asking about that again just now in the chat.
Yeah, so J-Val was out against the Philadelphia 76ers the other night. Out again, what we saw was Hernangomez start and Jackson Hayes came off the bench. So Hernangomez, a guy that we have a couple seasons of sample size on when he does get opportunity. He puts up, fantasy point per minute type of metrics, a little bit of a taller task in front of him today. But I mean, if you can, you go against a high usage guy like Embiid, now you get the next game against the Jokic. Fantasy points is all I care about. If you can give me a chip and a chair for 40 fantasy points at 5K, I think you're underpriced. And it feels like the median outcome here would probably be 30 to 30 plus. So I'm definitely going to be an investor in Hernangomez. I'm much more appreciative of his power forward eligibility on FanDuel tonight for construction purposes. On DraftKings, you got to give up a center spot. Usually that's a little harder to do, but Jokic, Nurkic, really, and maybe some Cat, really the only marquee names today that I'm feeling like I'm missing out on. So I don't mind one-to-one those guys because value at centers is undeniable. So I'm going to be there on Hernangomez. I'm a little less inclined to get to Jackson Hayes, although I do think he has potential to over exceed his 3,700 price point. What we have seen from him though is that he has a propensity to get in foul trouble. So on a slate this big where guys at his price range, even cheaper with Dwight Howard, I just probably don't absorb that extra foul risk, and I'll just take Hernangomez.
I like that. I think that makes a ton of sense. It's, just taking a look at some stuff over on Odd Shopper. It came up there in the last show. They were talking about some futures and couldn't find it. And I was like shouting in my head, guys, check Odd Shopper, check Odd Shopper. It's such an easy site to navigate the way we've got Odd Shopper set up, right? So it's like 3 clicks. And I found what that Lakers title futures was. The Lakers plus 1,800 at this point to win the title. So if we're going back on Lakers stuff, that one doesn't seem like one that's very likely to come through, but it's actually a little lower than I kind of thought based on how ugly they've been. You have a favorite title winner pick for NBA futures we can check on Odd Shopper here real quick in the last 10 minutes of the show?
I like the Phoenix Suns.
Okay. Let's see where the Suns are coming down. Phoenix Suns are a plus 700. So only a little bit more likely than the Lakers there, but I like that one. I kind of like it better than the Lakers one. I think it's just interesting going to that team. But guys, check out Odd Shopper if you're looking for any bets. We've got it set up like an e-commerce site. It's fantastic. You can navigate it so easily. A couple quick clicks. You click the type of bet, the team that you're looking at. I found it that quickly. I had no idea what gun was going to throw at me there. So Odd Shopper for all your betting needs. If you're in Louisiana and New York, we already mentioned, we've got some killer stuff up on the site. So use Odd Shopper as you're making those bets for the first time. Take advantage of all those offers. It is pretty ripe right now. So let's see. Gun, we've talked through the different positions. We've talked through some of where the values are. Anything wacky coming out in your lineups that you weren't necessarily expecting? I'm just taking a look to see if we've got any breaking news in the last few minutes here before we jump into the Yahoo slate in the last half hour. Anything coming out that you weren't necessarily expecting in that latest run?
Yeah, I guess we didn't mention him earlier with Brandon Ingram being out. There's a path to success for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and that path gets a little bit stronger if Josh Hart ends up not playing. Hart was still game time decision, but NAW just showed us almost 50 fantasy point potential in that last game. Of course, that also coincided with Devontae Graham being down as well. But NAW might be somebody we slip into the mid-tier forward pool to diversify our exposures just a little bit.
Interesting. That is a name I had not really been thinking of throughout the day, but yeah, especially if Hart doesn't go. Do we have anything on Hart? Have we seen any recent updates on status there? I don't think we have.
Yeah, when the Ingram news dropped, he stayed as game time decision.
Okay. Let's see. Trent Forrest's available for the Jazz tonight. That do anything for you?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Starting lineup for the Pistons: Cunningham, Joseph Diallo, Bay, Stewart. Nothing wacky there. Some bonus news. We had that Hunter and Danilo both available for the Hawks. Don't think we really care about that. We've had that for a little while and didn't really talk it through. Let's see. We dropped an out list that has like 47 names on it.
It's NBA.
Jeez. Unbelievable NBA. All right. That's interesting. So let's see. Chat, we got any questions in the old chat here? John Morant or Jason Tatum? No site given from Alex Restorao.
John Morant for me.
All right. And yeah, I think that would probably go to Ja for me as well. Just a little bit more of a upside, I would think. Is Jalen Smith sneaky and or dumb? You mentioned like in Biombo, you're going to get any Jalen Smith.
Yeah, so he's interesting. I feel like on this slate, that's you're holding your breath for him to check into the game. I've played him where he's DNP'd. That last game is as close as what we're going to get to this situation where there's no Crowder, no McGee, no Ayton, and he only saw 19 minutes. So I don't know that I'm feeling that secure in his minute projection. And at 3,400, when you can reach up and or reach down to Dwight Howard, reach up for a couple hundred more to get a couple other value centers, I don't think that's a risk I'm willing to take on this big of a slate. Maybe isolate that into a turbo late in the night or something like that. But I feel like on a main slate, that's not really a risk that's worthwhile.
What are we doing with the Christian Wood and Şengün situation? Any thoughts there? We had two different people asking basically that kind of a question, that same question.
So we don't know if Wood is going to sit or not, but he missed practice. So like if you had to guess now and leave the house, I would probably say he could be closer to out. If he were to be in with what we know that KPJ is already out, his usage would uptick a little bit. And also again, Şengün's another one of those guys where like I would need to see him starting because there's a world where Daniel Tice starts and we have to really worry about what Silas is going to do. So right now I'm doing nothing, but at 3,500 I could probably maybe diversify a little bit later in the night, but we don't have to wait too long for that game. But right now I don't have enough news to react to it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I hadn't even really considered the Tice aspect of that. That'll be fun. I'm just dropping my lineups in here. Hopefully, I have no idea what's actually in these things. Hopefully, they're going well. 0 entries uploaded successfully. Well, that's not good. Let's see what's going on here. All right, I will try and rescue this in the next few minutes. And
I am sweating the same.
Here. Yeah, we have a $4,900 power forward on DraftKings. Anybody in mind that you like there?
Power forward for 49. No, you're just missing out on PJ Washington. I guess Cameron Johnson of the Phoenix Suns would be him or Carmelo. I'm probably leaning Carmelo, but Cameron Johnson is those two.
Yeah. Oh, I just figured out what I did. I didn't save my template, so I was trying to upload yesterday's template, which isn't going to work. I don't know if you've ever run into that, but they typically like you to update the right rosters and lineups from the slate that you're actually playing, in my experience. So we're going to do that, and we're going to talk through it as I click on this. Apologies, guys. We just got to get this thing uploaded in there. Gun, I appreciate you covering while I was doing that and figuring that tragedy out. All right, we're good.
I'm gonna need that favor here in a minute.
Man, we got a lot going on now in the last 5 minutes here as we crash into lock. Anybody else that we haven't really gone through that like you wouldn't be surprised is going to, you know, either make or break someone's night that you're either getting to more than the field or like you would see in somebody else's lineup and say, oh shit, how did I not have that guy?
I feel like one of the Bulls could definitely pop here. No pun intended. Vucevic has a really strong per minute production while sharing the court with Levine and DeRozan. You know, DeRozan, a little fun name because he got the All-Star bid while Levine did not. But I definitely wouldn't be stunned if I looked up later tonight and Vucevic had 50 fantasy points. That's what one of my early projection models had him at. And then, yeah, like I said, the Timberwolves, I don't know if they'll ever pick up steam tonight without that news coming in a decent hour. And then maybe the Houston Rockets situation with KPJ being down. Jalen Green, he could go full on Jalen Suggs on us and chuck 20 shots at 4,100 and just, put up a solid 30, 40 fantasy point game in a high total because the Rockets that were pretty tight spread in a 230 total. So there's plenty of implied points and possessions there. Green's not an efficient shooter. You look at his game log, a lot of double-digit shot attempts and a lot of 20% success rates, but the volume will be there in a high implied total.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what we want, right? We want those volume guys in cheap spots where they're coming in as a value play that's off the beaten path right now that people aren't necessarily considering till after lock. That's kind of ideal if you can get a volume guy stepping into minutes in that situation. Is that are those basically the prime spots you're looking at for late swap for post lock changes? Is that Minnesota game, maybe that Houston game? Anything else on your radar for post lock to watch?
Yeah, if we get that Minnesota news, obviously the Lakers are going to probably set a lot of tables for our lineups tonight. So if you're invested in like, I don't know, 20, 30% Jokic, you might have a little bit of salary relief in your Swaptimizer adventures that might get you Jokic down to Cat, and then you have a little extra money to invest in maybe one of those errant bulls or maybe the Houston Rockets news does become more definitive. Şengün will definitely profile well if he's in the starting lineup. So I let the table setters do their job and then go from there. But T-Wolves, Beverly, and D'Angelo Russell news would definitely be intriguing for me. And then also kind of overlook Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Booker has a real shot at 30, 40 real points every game right now. And without 8 and 32, 33% usage rate. And without who's the backup? The backup went down since the backup went down for the Suns. Chris Paul has been flirting with 40 minutes a game.
Yeah, no, it's and that's a spot. Honestly, we didn't talk through a ton during the show, but it's a team that I was getting to a decent amount. I was getting a ton of Booker earlier in the day, and he started to slip a little bit. We talked through Cam Johnson. I got him in this crunch like 60%, so we'll see where he came up with my lineups. I was getting around 20% Chris Paul, around 20% Devin Booker on the FanDuel slate. So those guys were priorities earlier in the day for me. I hope through my sim and my sort, I actually got to more of them than it appears like I was, because they were definitely appealing. And for all those reasons that you said, the extended minutes, the scoring upside is obvious with Booker there. So that's a spot that I'll be curious to see where I got to when I get a chance to actually look at what went into these lineups. See if we got anything coming through. Had a couple people talking about potentially fading that first game. Is that something you ever do on a big slate like this when there's only the one island game at 7:00? Would you ever consider just taking that out of your process completely and just focusing on the 10 others?
Sometimes. I mean, Detroit and Orlando is slow enough that wouldn't stun me if there's no optimal plays in there. Cade Cunningham feels like I don't want none of, but usually if I skip the first game, it's because I didn't get the CSV up in time. and then I got to go from there. But I think this game is, on paper, we could justify it to be expendable just because of the paces and the lack of talent involved. But usage is pretty high there for Cade Cunningham. If he dropped 50, 60, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, that was my dirty secret through the show. I had a break glass in case of emergency lineup ready to just drop into all of my placeholders that didn't include that game so I could buy a little time. But Fortunately, I don't think we needed it, although I might have just plugged in a bunch of terrible lineups, so who knows. But that brings us right up to lock on this main slate. Let's see if we had any questions. Any Nurk love? Yeah, we've got Nurk love. Gunn was talking about it. I've got some Nurk in here. Definitely somebody that you can get to on pay-ups. Campaign was the backup you were searching for before. Thank you for that, guys.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's all right. The names fall out. It didn't pop into my head right away, and it's somebody in the chat. The chat always covers us on those things. Jalen Green or Plumlee at 4,100 on DK. Any preference there? I know we're basically out of time on the DK.
I just it's time to get that in, but probably Green's minutes would likely be higher than Plumlee. Although Plumlee, if you lean on Plumlee versus Howard a little longer, it wouldn't stun me. But I'd probably take Green's minutes and shot attempts over Plumlee here.
Yeah, I think that would be the way I would lean there as well. So we've got a bunch of people saying goodbye and thanks a lot and telling us how great we did. And we appreciate that, guys, but hang out. We got another half hour to go. We're sticking around for Lock on the Yahoo slate. So we're going to go through a bunch of this stuff. Again, we're just going to get some updates in and we're going to talk through any news that breaks. Of course, we'll talk about it for all the different sites. But let me just grab a quick minute here to update the Yahoo board so we can talk through some of these Yahoo plays. Because if you guys don't know, like we talked about during the plug earlier, Yahoo, first off, has some incredible contest in terms of overlay, and it sounds like we just got some breaking news. So I'm going to punt the promo for a minute and go to Gunn on the breaking news. What do we got?
We got Russell Westbrook, Avery Bradley, Wayne Ellington, Stanley Johnson, and DeAndre Jordan.
Woo!
So
that is a Hall of Fame starting five.
So I was expecting a Reeves, a Horton Tucker, a Howard, a Carmelo, one of those guys. So I don't like the offensive up. I don't like the offense. Like it's Wayne Ellington is the only scorer here. And then Westbrook, I might take the first half Hornets spread.
I think that might be a good move. Oh my God, that got ugly. What do you think that does in terms of the guys that we were kind of expecting and putting into our lineups in terms of a THT, a Melo, even a Dwight Howard in terms of the overall minutes here now? Where are you seeing those going?
Also, I just went through Will Barton just got rolled out. Extra Jokic, a little Monte Morris boost as well.
Yep, a little uptick.
But I don't know what to do because like I can't tell if the Lakers are punting this game or not based on the news they threw out earlier today. Obviously, they can't build a lineup that is good, but you feel like against the Hornets, you can't start slow, and this lineup does not project well offensively. Like Avery Bradley, Stanley Johnson, like DeAndre Jordan, what are we doing here? Like this is Westbrook, and you hope Ellington hits some threes here, and maybe they hit the panic button real quick
That's the opportunity that Russ Westbrook has been waiting for to score 100 points in an NBA game.
I mean, they have to be all dunks.
That is an ugly group of players. Oh my God. I really don't know what to do with that news. And that game starts at 7:30 because that is not a West Coast game, which is not good news for us. But I'm going to try and plug in this code so I can log into this thing and at least get this part of it done, but it's not sending me that, so that's not going to work. All right, we won't worry about that. So, all right, let's jump back over. We'll try and get the Yahoo stuff updated. Top player on the Yahoo board by boom score probability was Russ Westbrook, which is not really a surprise. 49.9% boom score probability, projected for 50% ownership, but at $33 seems like a pretty similar play across that site. You get THT on the Yahoo board at $10 at the dead minimum, coming up as the second most frequently optimal play. Would you still go to Talen Horton Tucker for the dead minimum on Yahoo at $10 if you were building a Yahoo lineup to enter right now for that 7:30 lock?
Yeah, as long as he's active and playing, yeah, absolutely, yes. It's not like they were stacked on bodies. It's just I'm nervous in this environment on what to expect from a minute standpoint. But Talen Horton Tucker, him and Melo, if we still believe that 30 minutes could be in their future, more so on the Horton Tucker, he's going to take shots when he's on the court, whether or not he's efficient. Now he'll have a little bit more overlap with Austin Reeves, who will feed him just as much. So yes, but I'm a little less confident in the minutes here.
Yes, slightly less comfy than it was a few minutes ago. But I think, at that price, at the dead minimum, it's kind of easy to go there regardless. We expect he's going to get enough minutes to cover that. He's not even going to have to do very much to cover that. couple other guys just going down the Yahoo board, some guys that we've talked about in glowing terms with LaMelo Ball. We were getting him like crazy on the other sites. $38. He's $5 more expensive than Russ, same price as Devin Booker, coming up very frequently in Yahoo lineups. 36% boom score probability and only owned at a 15% clip. So that's a guy that I would consider that to be, we don't have an optimal rate on the DK board, or on the Yahoo board here rather, but with that kind of a boom score probability and that lack of ownership, is LaMelo compelling to you at $38? Are you looking at him as like a pay up option over there?
Yeah, I still think LaMelo could be a top 5 fantasy scorer on the slate, but I mentioned earlier propensity of potential blowout. This team got blown out last night, and the Hornets' offensive efficiency is really one of the better offenses in basketball. Their defense is where they lack. But this Lakers lineup that I'm looking at, it doesn't really scare me offensively. So I'm a little bit more scared of maybe this game getting lopsided. But as far as like fantasy point projections, I have LaMelo Ball being a top 5 fantasy play today, and that's true on Yahoo as well. So I'm still there.
Yeah, and that was a play. I mean, he was a top 5 overall play on Alex's board throughout the day in terms of fantasy scoring, even before that Lakers lineup changed and got so ugly. And I just think it's a situation where even if they come out and they light them up over the first half and then into the third quarter, and then he sits, I think it's still a situation where we might see him create enough. We know that he's got one of the killer assist percentage. I think his assist percentage was 5th or 6th best on the board today. So there's going to be plenty of work for him to do, even in a blowout. So I'm not really worried about it. I don't love the price on Yahoo at $38, but I think I'm willing to get there with that lack of ownership. Hopefully that keeps people off of him. By the same token, another guy coming up just really under-owned, $57 is a pretty damn hefty price tag, but it's Nikola Jokic. We know what he can do in limited run, let alone having the opportunity with no Will Barton out there now, given a little bit more usage potentially, a little bit more to do in that offense. We know what a great distributor of the basketball he is. At 5.8% ownership on Yahoo, knowing that we're paying $20 more than Yusuf Nurkic on the slate at the same position, is Jokic interesting to you, or are you just looking to save money maybe and go down to Nurk at a better price?
Yeah, he's still very much live for me because he's projected to be the highest scorer on the slate, and he becomes easier to access. As beefy of a price point that is on Jokic, Yahoo still has a ton of $10, $11, $13 bargain bin discounts, right? If you believe Horton Tucker and Howard still gets some run, or Book Night without Oubre, there's still plenty of guys that you can offset that price point to get there. So if you truly if you think that Jokic is most often the highest fantasy scorer on the slate, and it's easy to get the highest fantasy scorer of the slate in your lineup, especially with now that we know Will Barton's out, there's really not much reason not to get there unless you're just trying to be, different than the field, or you're just trying to be cute.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, we've got so many points of value. You can really build value in at basically any position you want. You've got THT at $10. You've got PJ at $12. You've got Cody Martin at 13. Going down the board a little bit, if you wanted to go to Biyombo at center, you had him at 20. You've got Jackson Hayes at $10. I mean, you've got options galore. Dwight Howard, another $10 down the board a little bit further. No, he's not starting. Stanley Johnson from that Lakers rotation starting, $10 also on that spot. So just a lot of different directions to go. So we can build an extremely stars and scrubs kind of a lineup here. A guy that we didn't really talk about very much on the other sites, but he's coming up a little bit on the Yahoo slate for a $38 salary. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from OKC, coming up 28.5% boom score probability, 19.8% owned, getting a little bit of attention, similarly priced to LaMelo, to Booker, and some of these other options. Would you be getting to any Shai here?
Yeah, I got him just a tad under 50 Yahoo points. In the 1v1s, definitely land Melo a little bit more, but his value comes in competitive games when they're not getting smoked. And this is actually a game that the Thunder have a shot at in terms of spread here. Maybe Sabonis will move the line a little bit. But we've already seen, Shai's upside in his last couple of outings, where if the Thunder keep him on the court because they're playing close basketball, 35, 39 minutes is certainly within their own possibility. And in those minutes, he'll easily lead the team in usage, probably give you 20 plus real points, and a couple of peripherals to boot, especially on the defensive side. Plenty of steals and block potential. We know those mean so much more in Yahoo scoring. So yeah, a little bit would be worth getting to.
So between taking Russ off the board for a moment at the top at $33 and 50% boom score probability, and just looking at that point guard position between LaMelo at $38, SGA at $38, and Ja at 45. Which one's your favorite? And then I think I know which one's your favorite. So which one would you have ranked second?
I actually have Ja as the top projected scorer.
Okay.
I think
Does
favorite
that salary impact that decision?
Exactly. Yeah. The $12 decline from Morant to Westbrook makes Westbrook just kind of like a lock there. So yeah, I guess that would be number one points per dollar. Then I guess I'm going Ja because Josh is on a ridiculous tear right now. 20, 30 real points. As long as Dylan Brooks is out, he's playing motivated basketball. Every game, it seems like he's trying to prove something. So Ja, if I'm selling out for fantasy points, but for just straight up value, if I'm trying to make the most out of my fantasy salary, it makes a lot of sense to go Westbrook and LaMelo. I hate to like dance around Westbrook here, but it seems, I don't know. I want to know, if Horton Tucker, Melo, all these guys are actually to get some decent run today, because Melo is a guy, or Westbrook's a guy that's going to rely on a lot of assists. And I don't know if he's just throwing lobs to DeAndre all day, but man, I don't know. Maybe I'm disrespecting Avery Bradley's jumper, but I just don't think of those guys as offensive guys. So Westbrook's girth today is probably still scoring dependent if that's the lineup he's going to overlap with the most. But at $33, I would still take the shot. It's just too good to pass up against the Hornets.
Yeah, absolutely. Based on everything that we know about this guy, take the bias from this year out of it. When this guy is the only apex guy on the floor, we know what he's capable of. We've seen him average a triple-double for a season. We've seen him do that with kind of crappy teammates in the past as well. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Russ just has a monster game. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he goes pop at this salary too, especially with those guys on the floor. But it's kind of a no-brainer play. And that's just how we have to approach these things on the DFS front when we're building lineups. We go with what we know ahead of time, and we don't sweat the outcome, right? We want to make the right decision on the way in, and you don't sweat the outcome very much. It's just a math problem. So we're looking for that right solution math-wise. Who else stands out for you on the board? Another guy that we talked about, but he seems too high priced to me in that point guard conversation, is DeJounte Murray, $47 on DK, up above Ja. Seems like it kind of takes him out of the conversation. Only 8% owns. Maybe that does a little bit of something. Another guy from the star level at $41, different position, Jason Tatum, maybe kind of interesting, only own 10%. And a little cheaper than some of the premium point guard options that we've talked through. So maybe at the star level, you make a positional pivot and go to him there. Anybody else kind of popping for you on the board in that kind of a range?
Like the 20, 30-ish dollar range. I think it's the obvious. Yeah, a little higher. I think those are the obvious clicks here. There's a lot of beef at the 20 and below, but you don't want to leave too much on the board here. So I think we covered the obvious.
Yeah. What about CJ at $30? We talked about him briefly on the other sites. It seems like a standout play at that price. We've seen him. He's back to playing full minutes. So we know he's going to be out there. He's played, I think, over 35 the last 3 straight. We had him projected over 35 all day. So I kind of like that spot for CJ. Only pulling 21% ownership. That's not too bad there. Anybody else at let's call it $20 to $30? Who are your favorites in that range?
On the 20 to 30s, guys that are projecting as positive value plays for me, I have Bismack Biyombo up there. 30 minutes is liable to come his way without Ayton and McGee. He's been 30 minutes, last couple games anyway. So I'm actually getting close to a 40 fantasy point projection based on his ability to go out there and play tonight against not Gobert. So I think that there's some value in that. And he might get lost in the sauce of the Jokic or, min price punt approach. So I do like looking at him. Jordan Clarkson, $20 as well without Donovan Mitchell is a little bit intriguing. I don't want to get too involved in picking on the Grizzlies here. I thought it was fun from a narrative standpoint to get some Mike Conley without Donovan Mitchell back in the grindhouse, but that's not a metric based decision. And then 22, Desmond Bane looks like a solid click here for me. And then Josh Giddey to an extent, but I'm not getting massive value numbers on him.
Yeah, Giddey was coming up a lot for me earlier in the day on all the different slates, and I think he just kind of fell off the board for me as the different value pieces emerged, because I did not see a lot of him coming in through these lineups that actually went into the contests. So Somebody asked or just brought up in chat in the last update to the Boom Bust tool, which came down in the last few minutes. Taylor Horton-Tucker went from the top of the board on DK, slipped a couple pegs, nothing overly tragic. Went down to 30.9% boom score probability, still a 39% optimal lineup appearance rate, which is what I really care about on that play. By optimal lineup rate, he's still at the top of the board in this latest update. We'll see if that changes in the next few minutes. But with a bit of a diminished boom score probability, we talked about it before. For me, for price, I'm still kind of going to ride that one. I think it's okay, assuming he gets on the court basically at all at that price. Does it change anything for you, knowing that his boom score came down and it's more even with his ownership now?
No, I mean, I think that's just implied on uncertainty. Like if he started, it would just still be as high. So if you think he can get similar minutes, I'm not going to move it too much. I would love something coming out from Vogel indicating that they expect him to be a big part of their plan tonight. Because man, that lineup sucks. Just a little news
to make us feel more comfy.
Yeah, right. Nothing like coach speak. Christian Wood, Josh Christopher in for the Rockets, and Josh Hart available to play for the Pelicans. So maybe the Şengün dead dies a little bit, and then Josh Hart might take away a little bit from NAW, but Josh Hart being that close to 6K without Brandon Ingram, a big peripheral getter, Josh Hart might have every bit of 40 plus fantasy points coming his way, and he might be underpriced. So in late swap efforts, I would probably go get retrieve some Hart exposure, and then for Yahoo's sake, I might even get him in the mix because of his peripherals being worth a little bit more in the Yahoo scoring.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good spot. And now that we've got that news firmed up, we can start making that move. We had a super chat from Charles, $5. Would you go DeAndre Jordan or Stanley Johnson for DK showdown value? I need one cheap guy and I can choose them or Avery Bradley. So showdown.
Probably Stanley Johnson. I think Stanley Johnson is more likely to play 35 minutes than DeAndre is likely to play 25 minutes, right? I'm not convinced that DeAndre's playing a lot. We've seen him play 10 minutes and not even touch the second half. Obviously, there's a different outcome here, but it feels like if we're just trying to get safety net over minutes against the Charlotte Hornets, I think Stanley Johnson has one of the higher minute projections on the team today.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And just kind of a guy who I think we can see him, rack it up just with some peripheral numbers and get where we need him to be for that cheap price. So I would go with that as well. Just looking around in the chat, see if we've got anything coming up. Nothing crazy. A lot of THT questions. People are asking a lot of THT. I guess we got him down at 25 minutes now. That keeps him at that price. That's still, same kind of analysis that we just went through. We got the Houston news. Somebody's asking, T-Baller's asking, is Şengün still playable in your opinion? Would you have any lineups with him?
Nah, I don't really see a need to get there. We have Hernan Gomez.
Yeah, there's just so many better plays at this point now. If we had gotten that news the other way around, he might have been interesting. But even then, I don't think I was going to be making him a priority. So yeah, for me, that's a no as well. Let's see. Let's jump back over to Yahoo here real quick. Talking about some of those big men priorities at $10, would you be getting to any Jackson Hayes on the Yahoo slate?
Hernan Gomez confirmed starter. Again, probably not on Hayes. You got to give up. Is he center only?
Seems like Willie might not be on our Yahoo board because I'm only getting Juancho.
Oh, I mean, Jackson Hayes.
That name, if you're looking for him, guys, apologies. That's a naming convention thing. He's Guillermo some places, he's Willie others, he's William others. So it's a little bit annoying, and they switch back and forth a little bit too frequently. So that we need to update that. If anybody's listening on the back end, maybe we can catch that. Yeah, I think I would lean that way as well, preferring him. Let's see. In terms of the Yahoo slate,
Jackson Hayes is center eligible on Yahoo, so I don't think I would give up the center spot. It's just there's too much girth. Yeah, and you mentioned Josh Hart too. I just found him as I was scrolling down. I was looking for him before. $27. We had him projected for 1.8% ownership. Even if that comes up, I think you're still getting an advantageous spot at that price and that ownership point for him now. So that's a spot I'd be looking to go to. Let's see. Any of the big men, some of these guys, ancillary guys like Jaren Jackson, who, only kind of briefly came up at $30, Bam at 34, just looking down the board here, Capella at 27, Bobby Portis at 25. Any of these just big men from different spots who can easily go out there, grab a few rebounds, score a few points, and make the value that we need that we haven't really talked through? I have Whiteside at a dumb projection. He's $23, so I actually have him pushing over 40 fantasy points. I have we mentioned Biyombo earlier.
Yeah, Whiteside was a guy I was getting to a lot of earlier. I wrote him up earlier in the day, and I was expecting we would spend a lot of time on him during the show, but we really didn't. He's still coming up relevant for me, but I think just we got so spread out with a lot of these different value centers now that maybe I hope the field came up a little bit light on him and I came up a little heavy on him. Honestly, that wouldn't be a bad spot. Somebody's saying now Whiteside and Guillermo favorite center plays on Yahoo. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense out there, Ryan Nelson. That's a pretty good call there. Any preference between DeAndre Jordan or Dwight? Did you have a lean there after we know what the minutes look like?
I don't know what the minutes look like, but all things being equal, if they had the same amount of minutes, I want Dwight.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I still feel like it's probably going to end up with Dwight, maybe edging him out on the minutes. Like you said, we could just get that game where DeAndre starts and then doesn't see the court in the second half. So, guys, we brought to you by Yahoo, as we've talked through a few different times. Let's see if we've got anything else on the board that we didn't clean up here. We talked about Odd Shopper. Go check them out. Make sure you're checking out our great partners over at BetMGM and Caesars too, especially if you live in Louisiana or New York. We've got some killer offers. It's all up on the site. It's in our premium Discord. We've got the links to those no-brainer bets where if any team scores, let me go back to that actually. You can bet $10, and if any team this weekend in football scores a touchdown, just one touchdown in either one of the conference championship games, you win $200. That kind of sounds like an easy bet to go chase. I'm going to make sure to go across the bridge at some point into New York and try and make that bet because that is a little bit ridiculous. So make sure you're taking advantage of those guys. Make sure you're taking advantage on Yahoo. They've got the $500,000 contest up with $100K to first for NFL this weekend. We've got some killer tools up on the site. That tournament might overlay, so it might have an even bigger opportunity there. So there's just so many good reasons to go play there. And while I was talking, we got some a couple quick questions lined up here in chat, which is perfect. Going back to those Lakers one more time. Do you prefer Stanley or THT at this point? For me, it's probably Stanley just on the news that he's starting, but it's still close. We talked about the value there. Any preference?
Not a hard. I still I would be shocked if Stanley took like 15 shot attempts, but then again, I really don't truly know what to expect. Stanley's minutes should just be baked in. Against the Hornets, he might hit, he might obliterate value without a point. So I guess Stanley, just because I believe in him to play 35 minutes, and I'm not sold on what to expect from THT right now.
Tristan Carroll asks Cameron Johnson or Carmelo on DK.
Yeah, again, I had a lot of Cameron Johnson earlier, and then I tilted that to Melo once we got AD and LeBron out. Melo not starting makes me a little bit suspicious. Back to back was a 3 and 4 as well. So I probably go back to Cameron Johnson in lieu of the minutes here. But if you're just selling out for pure ceiling, if that means more to you, Melo, has a chance to drop 30, 40 fantasy points, probably more often if they have a similar allotment of minutes here. But I think no matter what, Cameron Johnson wins the seesaw battle in minutes. So probably Cameron Johnson, but Melo, if Melo started, I would have snap called Melo.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think my heart's still with Melo. Still love that guy for everything he tried to do here in New York, at least. Didn't really succeed, but still love good old Melo. And yeah, it's just that question mark about, maybe they're giving him a little bit of rest for those creaky old knees. And you get the kid with a nice big minutes projection and a cheap price. So I think I would probably lean Cameron Johnson. If anybody checks my lineups later and I'm the other way around, apologies, because I have no idea what's in my lineups. Let's see. Any love for Cousins? That's an oddball question from Colin Richardson.
Not
somebody I was thinking
about. No, I mean, he had a little traction going against the Pistons before he got ejected, but I don't think that's something I would hang my hat on and chase, not with the value today at center.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't think that was a play over on Yahoo either. Let's see. Shout out to me and my boy in chat. Forgot his name, but Franz is eating up right now. Franz Wagner, I guess. I would imagine. It's the only Franz I can think of. Let's see. Gun, definitely a poker player. You a poker player, Gun?
Not so much late, but when I was 18, before Black Friday, I did a pro for like 6-7 months, and then I got shut down. So
yep, missed those days for sure. I got lucky on Black Friday. I didn't have that much out there, but a lot of people got kind of screwed on that one. Nice to be playing something that's at least technically illegal across the country. Let's see. DeRozan or Levine on DK?
Probably DeRozan, but That's really just a coin flip.
Hey, look, anytime you can roster a guy that Adam Scherer said is literally Michael Jordan, I think if anybody caught the strategy show this morning, that's what Adam said, word for word. He said DeMar DeRozan is Michael Jordan. So
I'm with it.
if you can get to Michael Jordan, I don't see why you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's a little facetious there. Adam's point was that DeMar would be doing similar things as Michael did if he was playing back then. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but it would be an interesting case study. I also think Michael would be doing interesting things, probably taking 10 to 12 threes a game instead of 1.7 threes a game if he was playing in the modern day game. So interesting conversation back and forth there. Let's see. Jayshawn Tate or Carmelo Anthony. Boy, everybody wants to find ways to play to Melo. $4.99 super chat from JR. JR, that was bad timing, man. I read the question for free right before the super chat popped up.
You got it for free. Shoot. Probably Tate. Again, with the probably expect. I don't know. Tate's minutes haven't been anything spectacular himself. I'll go Tate. That's the consistency in the calls, right? I can't tell you to not play Melo over Stanley and then expect the same from Tate, but
that is one that Gunn is passionate about, you guys. You can hear the passion in his voice. You can hear the
I want to play Melo as much as everyone, man. I want to just load up on these free Lakers, and now I'm just scared that we're about to get straight up, healthy scratches because they're not starting. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I mean saying that makes sense because I could just totally see this being one of those nights where Melo's in his uniform, but he's just sitting on the bench. He's essentially a spectator tonight, and he's just getting some rest and throw these kids to the wolves and just let them get completely chewed up by the Hornets here. And then that lights up on the other side, like we were talking about, and that shaves LaMelo's projection. And this game became from a target to a total mess in my mind. This is going to be ugly, but it's going to be a fun ride. And Jayshawn Tate, kind of interesting, 32.2 fantasy points in the last game in only 19 minutes. That's kind of compelling. 1.0 or 1.1 over the last three in 22.3 a night. But like you said, the minutes aren't exactly reliable. We've got them projected at 26.8. We know they're relatively healthy now. So I don't love that spot, but I'm kind of with you. I can't really get overly enthused about it over Melo or Melo over it. Let's see. Who closes for the Lakers if Charlotte blows them out? So in a blowout, what kind of garbage time run are you expecting to make this even more interesting?
Probably Austin Reeves, Stanley Johnson, Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore is on their team. I'll tell you, we'll look at who closed yesterday when the white flags went in. It was Stanley Johnson, Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore, THT, and Austin Reeves. So that's probably a good bet for back-to-back closers.
Makes a ton of sense to me. Let's see, winding down into the last few minutes here. Plumlee or Şengün?
Plumlee. Şengün's just way too risky right now.
Yeah. Şengün is kind of off the board. That's not a question there. Portland is the best pick today. I don't really pick like P-I-C-K, but he spelled it like a picture. Portland's a pretty city. It's probably the best picture today as well.
Good skyline. Why not?
Yeah, as well. Let's see if we've got anything else interesting. Stanley or Temple?
Stanley.
Kind of an easy one there. Jumping over to our premium Discord. Guys, if you're at the site and you're not in Discord, make sure you get in there. It's awesemo.com/Discord. Get yourself verified. Get in Discord. We're in there all day long answering questions, talking shop. We've got DFS 101. It's a killer channel in there where we're just talking about all these different concepts, helping with Fantasy Cruncher, helping with analysis of how to put lineups together. We've got some great members in there who are extremely helpful with Excel questions, all kinds of stuff. So check out our premium Discord if you're not in there already, and hopefully some more frequent question answers will join up because there's nobody asking questions in Discord right now. Everybody in there is just talking lineups and what they're doing. So let's see. PJ Washington or Keldon Johnson, last man in. We didn't really talk about Keldon at all. You getting any Keldon?
And I think I heard Josh speak exactly what I think about Keldon. It doesn't make sense for Keldon Johnson to play 35 minutes in these 230 totals and not be as relevant. But the Bulls front court has definitely been porous to opposing players getting fantasy points. So I want to land Keldon Johnson just for his minutes and that total being 230. But he definitely hasn't been that consistent for me.
Yeah, and Keldon's a guy that at the beginning of the year I was getting to quite a bit of, and I'd slowed down kind of dramatically, which I think I'm glad about. It just has not really paid off for me. Some big time Yahoo overlay apparently in that tournament. So we've got about a minute left to get lineups in there, but make sure you can. Terry from Florida, my guy down there, says he's trying to get in Discord because he can't get right on FC. Buddy, that's the spot, man. Get in there, ask us questions. If you can't get into Discord for whatever reason, you want to shoot me an email. If I'm feeling good and feeling like typing a lot, I'll send you a bunch of advice if you send us an email at support@awesemo.com as well. Always happy to help over there. But DFS 101 in Discord is the best spot to get answers to those kind of questions for FC and for everything else that we do. So make sure you're getting in there. What kind of ownership are you expecting for Russ on Yahoo? We were expecting, I think, at the site, like 50%.
Yeah, that seems like a baseline expectation, probably more, especially if there's overlays, just the sharp cats in here now soaking up extra entries. It'd probably be well above 50.
Absolutely. That price, that's going to be rocketing through the ceiling. So guys, that brings us up to Yahoo Lock. That brings us up through the next couple of games here. So hopefully you got your swaps in for those early games. I know I didn't. So hopefully I've got some good lineups in. We really appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Make sure you check out Yahoo. If you're in Louisiana and New York, make sure you're hitting those betting links at the site. Get it to BetMGM, get to Caesars. Take advantage, guys. There's so much money on the table right now. Hit the like and the subscribe. This is the last show of today, but we've got a ton of stuff coming up tomorrow. Kicking off at 10 o'clock in the morning with the NBA strategy show with EMAC and with you, Gun. That'll be a short turnaround for you. Then 11 o'clock in the morning with NHL strategy show. 2 in the afternoon, we've got NFL strategy show, showdown breakdown with me and Greg. 5 o'clock, NBA deeper dive with me and Eitan. So I'll be doing double duty tomorrow. And then 6 o'clock, NBA live before lock with Greg and Matt LaMarca. So just loaded day tomorrow. A lot of content coming your way, guys. Make sure to come around for it. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Shout out to Tyler.